Chapter 169. Su Fu had come from a planet rich in resources and had many primordial soul adepts, so he was very knowledgeable. But now, when he held the pill recipe in his hands and looked at it, his expression changed drastically. Occasionally, he would even exclaim in excitement, "Amazing! Wonderful! Wonderful! These herbs can actually be combined like this, the effect is even better this way. Amazing! Amazing!" After a while, Su Fu put down the elixir formula and reluctantly handed it back to the black-robed man behind the wooden table, Zhou Donghuang. "Alchemist Su, what do you think?" The person in charge of the black market and the third elder of the Divine Light sect, Tuaku, looked at Su Fu. Although it was a question, he already had an answer in his heart. After all, Su Fu's earlier loss of composure was enough to explain everything. "The elixir formula is real," Su Fu said very seriously. "However, even if I had the elixir formula, I would need at least another 10 days to half a month to have the confidence to produce the qi-gathering elixir according to the formula." As he said this, Su Fu's eyes lit up. "Third Elder, please buy the elixir formula. 3,000 spirit stones for the elixir formula later. The other 4 sects will definitely want us to share the elixir formula, and then we can collect 1,000 spirit stones from each sect. Of course, even if we do not share the elixir formula and only provide them with qi-gathering elixirs, we can still earn back the 3,000 spirit stones." Su Fu said solemnly, "With this elixir formula, the talented qi-gathering adepts of the Divine Light sect can even reach the Khanate stage a few years earlier." Naturally, Tuaku did not doubt Su Fu's words. He looked at Zhou Donghuang and said, "Sir, our black market is unable to produce 3,000 spirit stones at the moment. I need to send a message back to the sect and have them send the spirit stones over. I can't wait that long." As Zhou Donghuang spoke again, a piece of paper slipped out of his sleeve. It was immediately wrapped in a faint white fog and sent to Tuaku, floating in the air, waiting for him to reach out and take it. "Primal Core Adept?" Tuaku was shocked. From the voice of the black-robed man, he had thought that he was at most 20 years of age, but he had not expected that he was actually a Primal Core Adept. Although he was only an early Primal Core Adept, he was still shocked. Is he really a Primal Core Adept? Behind Tuaku, the 17th elder of the Divine Light sect, Lu Xuanyu, narrowed his eyes. Is he really the young man beside the middle-aged man? Lu Xuanyu had already confirmed the identity of the person in front of him. But now, with the appearance of the inner yuan of the person before him, revealing the fact that he was an early Primal Core Adept, he could not help but wonder, was the black-robed man before him really that young man? A youth who was not even 20 years old, a Primal Core Adept? He still couldn't believe it. However, when he recalled the fake news his subordinates sent back yesterday, his heart could not help but waver a little. "The materials on the paper can replace spirit stones. I've already marked the price. I'll give you 3 days. After 3 days, if you can't gather what I want, I'll sell this elixir formula to the other sections." "Sir, 3 days is too short." Tuaku glanced at the materials recorded on the paper. It was not difficult to see that these materials, even on the planet of Ziyun, were considered rare materials. They could not be bought with gold or silver, and were usually traded with spirit stones. 2 days. Zhou Donghuang spoke again. Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, Tuaku's expression changed, and the 2 elders of the Divine Light sect behind him also glared at Zhou Donghuang. "Young man, this is the black market, the territory of the Divine Light sect. If you want to leave the black market unscathed, you better not go overboard," Lu Xuanyu said in a low voice. "Trying to scare me?" Zhou Donghuang raised his head and glanced at Lu Xuanyu. With a wave of his hand, the inner yuan in his hand crushed the qi-gathering elixir formula into pieces, making it impossible to put it back together. "One day, if I do not gather what I want in 1 day, this elixir formula will not be fated with the Divine Light sect." Other than that, he will now give me 100 spirit stones as compensation for scaring me just now. Zhou Dongwang looked at Tuaku and pointed at Lu Xuanyu. Young man, you're asking for it. Lu Xuanyu's expression changed. He had never imagined that the person in front of him would dare to extort him. Zhou Dongwang ignored Lu Xuanyu and continued to look at Tuaku. 17th Elder, give him 100 spirit stones first. The black market will cover half of it for you, and I'll get the treasury to give you 50 spirit stones later. Tuaku, the third elder of the Divine Light sect, could not fathom the strength of the black-robed man before him. But he knew that the Divine Light sect had to obtain the elixir formula, so he could only choose to compromise for now and satisfy the black-robed man's demands, lest he take another step further. When Tuaku spoke, his tone was commanding. No matter how unwilling Lu Xuanyu was, he could only obediently take out 100 spirit stones from his space ring and hand them over to Zhou Dongwang. But when he looked at Zhou Dongwang, his eyes were filled with an icy murderous intent. Even if he only had to pay 50 spirit stones, it was still a large sum. Although the Divine Light sect would give him spirit stones every month, it would still take more than a year for him to accumulate 50 spirit stones. Sir, we will do our best to prepare what you need. Please wait here for the next day. Now, Tuaku did not dare to bargain. Zhou Dongwang's tone was indifferent as Tuaku led his men out of the wooden house. Under the watchful eyes of the black-robed men outside the wooden house, Tuaku led his men back to his room in the black market. Third Elder, that kid is too much, Lu Xuanyu said as soon as they entered the room. In my opinion, we should just kill him and take his elixir formula. Even if the news gets out, the Divine Light sect will have to pay 4,000 spirit stones as punishment for breaking the rules of the black market. That will be worth it to the 4 sections. Furthermore, as long as we agree to share the elixir formula with them, or sell the finished elixir to them, the Divine Light sect will not have to pay those 4,000 spirit stones. As he said this, Lu Xuanyu's eyes were filled with murderous intent. The elixir formula has already been destroyed by him. Tuaku shook his head. Lu Xuanyu was taken aback, but his eyes were fierce as he said, "Then we will torture him and force him to write out the elixir formula again." Looking at his posture, it is obvious that he has memorized the contents of the elixir formula and can write it out at any time. Otherwise, he would not have destroyed the elixir formula and acted as if he wanted to make a deal with the Divine Light sect. Torture him? Force him? Tuaku continued to shake his head. If he cannot bear the torture and wants to commit suicide, we will not be able to stop him. In that case, the Divine Light sect will completely lose the opportunity to obtain the elixir formula. Your suggestion is not realistic. As he said this, Tuaku looked at Su Fu and asked respectfully, "Alchemist Su, just now when you looked at the elixir formula, how much do you remember? Is it possible for you to completely replicate it?" Su Fu shook his head. "I only looked at it once. I can only remember 10 to 20% of the elixir formula. The elixir formula is very complicated, and even if I look at it 100 times, I can only remember half of it. Unless I have a photographic memory, I can forcibly remember it. In that case, we will follow his request and help him prepare the materials." As the third elder of the Divine Light sect and the person in charge of the black market in the capital of the Xinguang Empire, Tuaku gave the order, and all the elders and disciples who were not on duty in the black market were sent out to various large families in the capital of the Xinguang Empire, and even some small sects outside the capital, to see if these families and sects had the rare materials that the black-robed young man wanted. It had to be said that the black market was very efficient. In less than a day and a night, the next morning, they had gathered most of the rare materials that Zhou Dongwang needed. The rest of the materials that had not been gathered could only be paid in spirit stones. "Sir, the things you wanted have arrived. The elixir formula, is it time to give it to me?" Inside the wooden hut, Tuaku looked at the black-robed man in front of him as he spoke. Now, on the wooden table in the wooden house, in addition to a half-opened wooden box containing 1,000 spirit stones, there were also all kinds of metal ores and materials. At first glance, one could tell that they were not simple. They were not ordinary metal ores and materials at all. That's right. Zhou Donghuang's gaze swept over the materials and spirit stones on the table, and he nodded. He then looked at Tuaku and said, "Come back in a day to collect the elixir formula. I have already destroyed the previous elixir formula, and I need to write it out again. In the wooden hut, do not leave anyone to disturb me, or you will bear the consequences." "All right," Tuaku responded and led his men out. However, although they had left, Tuaku did not leave the vicinity of the wooden hut. He even had a few elders of the Divine Light sect from the black market come and stand with him in different directions around the wooden hut, staring at it like a tiger watching its prey, as if deeply afraid that the person inside would escape. Now, even a middle primal core adept would not be able to escape, much less an early primal core adept. Lu Xuanyu stood in a corner of the wooden hut, staring at it with a murderous look in his eyes. Inside the wooden hut, writing the elixir formula from memory naturally did not take a day. The reason why Zhou Donghuang had asked Tuaku to collect the elixir formula in a day was that he planned to use the materials that Tuaku had brought to make the spirit weapon that he wanted now. The list of materials that I gave Tuaku is a list of the materials needed to make an ultimate spirit weapon, although he did not gather all the materials. However, these materials are enough for me to create a superior spirit weapon. Primal core spirit weapons were spirit weapons used by primal core adepts. Inferior spirit weapons, when infused with inner yuan, could only increase the power by 10%. Middle-grade spirit weapons could increase the power by 30%. Superior spirit weapons could increase the power by 60%. A supreme-grade spirit weapon could double one's power. Chapter 170. Third Elder, you are right. A day later, in the wooden hut, Su Fu nodded at Tuaku after reading the formula in his hand. As soon as Su Fu finished speaking, Zhou Donghuang stood up and walked out of the wooden hut without looking back. From the beginning to the end, Tuaku, the third elder of the Divine Light sect and a late primal core adept, had no intention of stopping Zhou Donghuang and allowed him to leave. However, after Zhou Donghuang left, Tuaku could not help but look at Su Fu and ask, "Alchemist Su, what you said before, is it true? This formula, even a planet with a divine transformation adept might not have it?" Earlier, Tuaku had heard Su Fu say that the formula for the chi-gathering elixir that the black-robed man had given to him could not be found even on a planet with a divine transformation adept. The divine transformation stage was above the primordial soul stage and was 2 whole levels higher than the Dharma stage. Because of this, he was even more wary of the black-robed man. For him to be able to give such a formula, what did it mean? This meant that the other party had either encountered a great opportunity or had become the disciple of a powerful cultivator from another planet. However, his master had left him in the Xian planet to cultivate. In the boundless universe, there was no lack of cases of these two. If it was the former, he could definitely kill him and take back everything that he had taken from the Divine Light sect. However, if it was the latter, once his master found out, the Divine Light sect could be doomed. After all, the fact that the black-robed man had sold the formula for the chi-gathering elixir in the black market was no secret, and it would not be difficult for his master to trace it back to the Divine Light sect. He did not dare to take the risk. The Divine Light sect could not take the risk for 1,000 spirit stones and materials. Third Elder, are you doubting my words? Su Fu's expression darkened slightly. Alchemist Su, please do not misunderstand, I just want to confirm. Tuaku smiled awkwardly and apologized profusely. Although Su Fu's level of practice was not as high as his alchemy skills were the best in the entire Xian planet, and he was the most respected in the Divine Light sect. His position in the sect was even higher than his own. After leaving the black market, Zhou Dongwang prepared to return to the Yuntai Inn. Just like when he had come, he did not fly. Instead, he walked slowly through the streets and alleys of the capital of the Xinguang Empire, enjoying the noise around him. He had been in seclusion for half a year and hadn't stepped out of his room. When he heard the noise, not only did he not feel disgusted, he even felt a sense of familiarity. However, when he walked into a small alley with only a few stalls and a dozen passers-by, he seemed to have noticed something and suddenly stopped in his tracks. Just as Zhou Dongwang paused in his tracks, a voice rang out. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Accompanied by a series of ear-piercing sounds, less than 20 people, including passers-by and stall owners, were penetrated by more than 10 white streams of light in the blink of an eye. They directly fell to the ground and died. These people didn't even have the chance to react before they fell to the ground and died. When the dozen or so people died, they still had the same expression as before. Those who were looking left and right still had curious expressions on their faces. Those who were bargaining with the stall owner were still frowning. There were also 2 children who were not even 10 years old who still had innocent smiles on their faces. All this happened in the blink of an eye. Whoosh! Just as Zhou Dongwang frowned slightly and raised his head to look in the direction of the white streams of light, a figure descended from the air. He is Lu Xuanyu? Zhou Dongwang was no stranger to the person in front of him. It was the person whom he had asked for 100 spirit stones as compensation for his mental distress. At that time, he only knew that this person had a high status in the black market, but did not know his identity. Now, seeing him appear before him, it was not difficult for him to guess his identity. The 17th elder of the Xinguang sect, Lu Xuanyu. 2 days ago, Su Mo had killed one of the people who had been following them, sent by Lu Xuanyu. It was also at that time that he knew that he had been targeted by Lu Xuanyu. Kid, you didn't think that I would be able to find you, did you? After Lu Xuanyu landed slowly, he looked at Zhou Dongwang with a cold smile. So what if you found me? Zhou Dongwang asked calmly. So it is you. Hearing Zhou Dongwang's voice and words, Lu Xuanyu was completely sure that the black-robed man who had extorted 100 spirit stones from him was this young man in white before him. Although he still did not dare to believe that this young man was a primal core adept, he still did not dare to believe it. But at this moment, even if he did not dare to believe it, he had to believe it. Kid, no matter what kind of fortuitous encounter you have, or whether you have a powerful teacher behind you today, you will die without a doubt. Lu Xuanyu looked at Zhou Dongwang with a murderous look and an unconcealable greed. 1,000 spirit stones. And rare materials that were worth no less than 2,000 spirit stones. As long as he killed this person in front of him, everything that he had exchanged for in the black market would belong to him, Lu Xuanyu. Furthermore, he could take back the 100 spirit stones that he had given to this person 2 days ago. You killed them to silence them so that they would not spread the news of you attacking me? Zhou Dongwang glanced at the dozen corpses in the alley and asked coldly. That's right. As long as no one witnesses me killing you, even if you have a powerful teacher behind you, no one will be able to trace it back to me. As Lu Xuanyu finished speaking, the milky white inner yuan around his body pulsed and revolved around his body, lifting him into the air and heading straight for Zhou Dongwang. Kid, if you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being so weak despite having so many treasures on you. As Lu Xuanyu finished speaking, he was already near Zhou Dongwang, and with a raise of his hand, the blade in his palm whistled through the air. Buzz! The piercing sound of the blade rang out, and a solid white ray of the blade sliced through the air towards Zhou Dongwang. Even if you die today, no one will know that I killed you, although, I am not worried that anyone will know that I killed you, said Zhou Dongwang calmly. With a flick of his right sleeve, a fan appeared in his hand. Originally, I did not need to use this to kill you, but it was just refined last night and has not been sharpened yet, so I will let it drink your blood to sharpen it." As Zhou Donghuang finished speaking, the fan in his hand suddenly opened, and the black, sharp ribs of the fan glowed with a cold light that could be seen with the naked eye. A moment later, a faint white light rose from the fan. Whoosh! In a flash, Zhou Donghuang's entire body moved like a ghost, and the fan in his hand met the solid ray of light that Lu Xuanyu had sent out. Whoosh! The fan flew through the air and met Lu Xuanyu's solid ray of light, slicing through it like tofu, and then shattering it. Spirit weapon? Earlier, when he heard Zhou Donghuang's words, Lu Xuanyu had already suspected that the fan in front of him was a spirit weapon. Now, seeing that his opponent had so easily destroyed his attack with the fan, he was completely certain. It is indeed a spirit weapon. Immediately, the greed in Lu Xuanyu's eyes intensified. A spirit weapon. Even in the Divine Light sect, they only had one. Although Zhou Donghuang had easily destroyed Lu Xuanyu's attack, Lu Xuanyu did not think that there was anything special about Zhou Donghuang's spirit weapon. He only thought that Zhou Donghuang had used all his inner yuan to neutralize his attack. His attack was a condensed blade of inner yuan that had left his body, and it did not have any power behind it. It was not strange that an early primal core adept could neutralize it with the full power of an inferior primal core spirit weapon. "Kid, before you die, let me thank you for giving me this spirit weapon." Lu Xuanyu's eyes flashed with greed, and then the milky white light surrounding him trembled, and like a cannonball, it flew towards Zhou Donghuang at lightning speed. At the same time, as Lu Xuanyu's hands danced, 2 rays of light condensed from inner yuan appeared above his hands, but they did not leave his body. Now Lu Xuanyu planned to use all his strength to kill the young man before him to prevent any unexpected events. Dream on! Facing the menacing Lu Xuanyu, how could Zhou Donghuang not know what he was thinking? He laughed disdainfully as the fan in his hand spun in his palm, and the sharp white light flashed around him. One, 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 one. The fan in Zhou Donghuang's hand was like a fan that had left its machine. With a shake of his hand, it flew out of his hand and towards Lu Xuanyu, bringing with it a piercing sound. Spirit weapon! Seeing the fan spinning towards him, Lu Xuanyu's eyes lit up, and then the white light in his hands transformed into 2 large white hands that grabbed at the fan. Obviously, Lu Xuanyu wanted to snatch Zhou Donghuang's spirit weapon. However, in the next moment, as the fan came closer, Lu Xuanyu's expression changed completely when he sensed the strong and condensed inner yuan on the fan. Impossible! At this moment, the power of the true yuan emitted by the nearby folding fan was even stronger than his own true yuan. This did not mean that the inner yuan on the fan was of a higher quality than his, but when the quantity was added together, it was as if the inner yuan of several early primal core adepts had been perfectly combined, displaying a strength that was enough to crush his own inner yuan. Winning by quantity. No, Lu Xuanyu hastily let out a cry of indignation. Then, he exerted all his strength. His hands pulsed with true essence in an attempt to block the incoming fan. Now, in his eyes, the fan was no longer a treasure, but a scythe that had come to claim his life. The greed in Lu Xuanyu's eyes completely disappeared. In its place was fear from the bottom of his heart. Poof! A soft sound echoed in the small alley. Lu Xuanyu's heart-wrenching cry of indignation came to an abrupt end. The folding fan rotated like a fan, destroying the true essence in Lu Xuanyu's hand as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood, directly killing Lu Xuanyu. Chapter 171. Clap. The spinning folding fan returned to Zhou Donghuang's hand after it had completed its mission, bringing with it a splatter of fresh blood. A young man dressed in robes whiter than snow, holding a folded fan in his hand, and with his handsome features and extraordinary aura, he looked like an elegant scholar. From the moment Lu Xuanyu appeared to the moment he was killed by Zhou Donghuang, only a few breaths had passed. During this time, no one had entered the alley. Only after Zhou Donghuang had taken Lu Xuanyu's space ring and left for a while did someone enter the alley and discover Lu Xuanyu's death. Lu Xuanyu was a mid-primal core adept, the 17th elder of the Divine Light sect. His death naturally caused quite a stir. How did the 17th elder die in that alley? In the black market, the third elder of the Divine Light sect, Tuaku, had an ugly expression on his face. Today, he had helped the Divine Light sect by the formula for a qi-gathering elixir that could increase the sensitivity to qi by 20 times. He had not expected that just as alchemist Su had brought the formula back to the sect, the 17th elder of the Divine Light sect, Lu Xuanyu, would die in a small alley in the capital city. Investigate. Investigate thoroughly. As the third elder of the Divine Light sect and the person in charge of the black market, it was not difficult for Tuaku to find out from some of the disciples that Lu Xuanyu's trusted subordinates had been investigating the new faces who had entered the black market since half a year ago. What happened? Tuaku's face was gloomy as he looked at the old man who was bowing and shivering. His voice was low as he said, "Don't tell me you don't know." Third elder. Now that Lu Xuanyu was dead, the old man did not dare hide anything from the third elder of the Divine Light sect. He hurriedly told him everything that had happened. Half a year ago, the person who sold us the formula for the qi-gathering elixir at the price of 1,000 spirit stones was a middle-aged man. Beside him was a young man. That young man, the Yang family said he was an early primal core adept? After hearing all this, Tuaku's mind flashed. It was not difficult to connect this young man with the black-robed man who had sold them the formula for the qi-gathering elixir. The black-robed man had a very young voice, and was also an early primal core adept. Summon the patriarch of the Yang clan, Yang Qi. Following Tuaku's orders to the old man, it didn't take long for the patriarch of the Yang family, Yang Qi, to be led by the old man to the black market. Yang Qi of the Yang family greets third elder. Yang Qi respectfully saluted Tuaku. He should have told you everything, the young man who went to your Yang family that day. Are you sure he was an early primal core adept? Tuaku looked at Yang Qi sternly, getting straight to the point. Yes. Yang Qi nodded hurriedly. At that time, he used his inner yuan to hold a piece of paper in front of me. The inner yuan surrounding the paper was as faint as mist. It was the inner yuan of an early primal core adept. You should know the consequences of lying to me. Tuaku's voice suddenly turned cold. Thump. Yang Qi was so frightened that he dropped to his knees. How could I possibly dare to deceive you, third elder? I, Yang Qi, swear to the heavens that if I lied to you, third elder, then I'll die a horrible death. I'll give you one last chance, Tuaku said calmly. If you dare lie to me, from now on, the Yang family will no longer exist in the Xinguang Empire, or even the entire planet of Ziyun. Third elder, I really didn't lie to you. Yang Qi saw that Tuaku was using his family to threaten him. He was speechless and helpless, and his face was filled with a bitter smile. Tuaku finally believed Yang Qi's words. That middle-aged man was also an early primal core adept? Yes. Yang Qi nodded. After they came to our Yang family, the middle-aged man made the first move and killed my son. I don't know who it was, but they kept spreading false news that the middle-aged man was only a late Khanate adept, and they harmed my son and the Yang family. As he spoke, Yang Qi's tone was filled with resentment. Of course, he did not hate the primal core adept who killed his son, because he knew that resentment was useless. What he hated was the person who had spread the false news. What else was so special about the two of them? For example, did they say where they came from? Tuaku had always felt that the person who could produce the two formulas for the qi-gathering core either had a powerful background, or was just lucky enough to have had a fortuitous encounter. Yang Qi thought for a moment. They did not say where they came from, but the middle-aged man, although he was also an early primal core adept like the young man, called the young man master. Also, when he called the young man master, he was very natural and willing, without the slightest bit of hesitation or awkwardness, and from the bottom of his heart, he acknowledged the young man as his master. Yang Qi told him everything he knew in one breath. The middle-aged man called the young man master? Tuaku's eyes narrowed slightly. If that was the case, the young man was more likely to have a powerful background. After all, if he did not have a powerful background, how could he have someone of the same level of practice as him willingly acknowledge him as his master? There must have been some powerful force behind the young man, or perhaps a powerful teacher who had intimidated the middle-aged man into willingly acknowledging the young man as his master. You may leave. After dismissing Yang Qi, Tuaku's eyes flashed with wisdom. So, the person in the black robe who sold us the Qi-gathering core formula today must be that young man. Lu Xuanyu must have noticed this. So, after the young man left the black market, he went to kill the young man, wanting to take what the young man had obtained from the black market today, as well as the 100 spirit stones he had extorted from him. However, Lu Xuanyu was a mid-primal core adept. Whether it was the young man or the middle-aged man beside him, they were both early primal core adepts, and even if they joined forces, they would not have been a match for Lu Xuanyu. So, there is only one possibility. The young man had a primal core adept protecting him, and when he saw Lu Xuanyu attack the young man, he killed Lu Xuanyu. Thinking of this, Tuaku's eyes flashed with wisdom. Look at Lu Xuanyu's body, there are no signs of a fight, he was killed in one blow. That means, the person who killed Lu Xuanyu was at least a late primal core adept like me. Tuaku thought to himself. As he took a deep breath, Tuaku's eyes flashed with fear. This matter, I can't solve it, and I have no way of solving it. I'd better send the news back to the sect, and see what the sect decides. Naturally, Zhou Donghuang was not a late primal core adept. However, he had indeed killed Lu Xuanyu in one blow. In fact, he had killed him with brute force and a spirit weapon without using any techniques or the rich experience of life and death battles from his past life. The inner yuan of a mid-primal core adept was about twice as strong as that of an early primal core adept. Although Zhou Donghuang was only an early primal core adept, he had 2 primal cores in his body, and because both primal cores were his, the inner yuan in both primal cores could be perfectly combined to fight against an enemy. Under such circumstances, the power of his inner yuan was twice as strong as that of an ordinary early primal core adept. Coupled with the 60% increase in power from the superior grade spirit weapon he had just forged the night before, just based on the explosive power of his inner yuan, he could easily crush Lu Xuanyu, who was a mid-primal core adept. Furthermore, Lu Xuanyu was made of flesh and blood, and he did not know how powerful Zhou Donghuang's superior spirit weapon was, so Lu Xuanyu was killed in one blow. If Lu Xuanyu had been more careful, he might have lived a little longer. His carelessness had caused him to be killed by Zhou Donghuang in one blow. With my rich battle experience from my past life and my skills in using inner yuan, I could have easily killed Lu Xuanyu without using a spirit weapon. The mid-primal core adepts of Ziyun can only be considered half-baked, and they cannot be compared to the mid-primal core adepts of the supreme sects and great galactic clans of the universe. In the courtyard of a guest room in the Yuntai Inn, Zhou Donghuang sat before a stone table and opened his folding fan. He seemed to be admiring the dense patterns on the fan, but he was actually thinking about something else. The supreme sects and great galactic clans were basically all powerful forces that stood at the peak of the universe. They had their own way of nurturing their disciples. Not only did they improve the level of practice of their disciples, but they also helped them improve their battle experience and technique. Even if the disciples of the supreme sects and great galactic clans were only at the level of a mid-primal core adept, they could easily kill a late primal core adept of Ziyun. Even if the latter's inner yuan was more than twice as strong as the former's inner yuan. Even if the inner yuan was strong, it could only be used to its fullest potential. Just like today, when the 17th elder of the Divine Light sect, Lu Xuanyu, attacked Zhou Donghuang, his inner yuan seemed to be condensed, but it was actually full of flaws. If Zhou Donghuang really wanted to fight, even without using a spirit weapon, he could easily take his life. I was thinking, if I could produce an ultimate primal core spirit weapon this time, even with my current level of practice, as long as there are no golden essence adepts on the planet of Xiun, I would be able to dominate the world. But plans can't keep up with changes. I don't have the materials, and I can only produce this superior primal core spirit weapon. Zhou Donghuang sighed. The most important thing now is to condense the third primal core. When that time comes, even if I only have a superior primal core spirit weapon, I will be able to dominate all the adepts of Xiun below the golden essence stage. As for now, against a silver essence adept, such as the person in charge of the black market, the third elder of the Divine Light sect, Tuaku, even if I can fight him to a draw at the start, as time goes on, my inner yuan will definitely not be able to keep up with his. At this thought, Zhou Donghuang felt the pressure. He stood up and returned to his room. Zhou Donghuang once again shut himself away to practice. Chapter 172. The Divine Light sect was one of the 5 great sects of the Xiun planet. It was located in the mountains to the north of the Xinguang Empire, and the highest peak was where the sect was based. After the founder of the Divine Light sect had established the sect here, he had named the peak Xinguang Peak. The sect leader has ordered us to investigate the origins of the young man and the middle-aged man. These are their portraits. Each of you take a copy, and with the Xinguang Empire as the center, conduct a carpet search for their origins. On a wide stone platform halfway up Xinguang Peak, an old monk of medium build, dressed in a silver cassock, spoke to the 11 people before him in a low voice. Now, the 11 people before the old monk were either middle-aged monks in red cassock or middle-aged men in casual clothes. In the Divine Light sect, besides the Buddhist disciples, there were also many secular disciples. Now, the 11 of them were each standing on a huge flying beast. The leader was a middle-aged man dressed in a black robe. He was tall and burly, with a hideous knife scar on his face. Although the giant eagle beneath his feet was about the same size as the other eagles, there was a faint white fog surrounding it, as if to tell the others that it was a primal core demon. The other 11 flying beasts now maintained a certain distance from the giant eagle, their huge bodies stiff, as if they did not dare to move. As for how to divide the area of the investigation, you can arrange it yourself, 10th Elder. The old monk looked at the middle-aged man in black as he spoke. All right. The black-robed man nodded. Let's go. After bidding farewell to the old monk, the black-robed man rode on the giant eagle beneath his feet and flew away, leaving Xinguang Peak in the blink of an eye. The giant eagle beneath his feet was 20 meters wide when it spread its wings. This size was the mark of an ultimate connate stage eagle-type beast. However, this giant eagle was not an ultimate connate stage beast, but a primal core demon. For most beasts, once they entered the ultimate connate stage, their size would be fixed and would not change. Even if they entered the primal core, dharma, primordial soul, or divine transformation, there would not be any changes. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. After the black-robed man, the other 10 Buddhist and secular disciples of the Divine Light sect also rode on their flying beasts to catch up with the black-robed man. The flying beasts beneath the feet of the Divine Light sect disciples were also huge in size. There were a few eagle-type demonic beasts with a wingspan of 20 meters. Clearly, they were innate realm demonic beasts. You head northwest and investigate the origins of those 2 people. If you find nothing in the northwest region of the Xinguang Empire, continue northwest and search for other empires. I'll leave the west to you. You go southwest. As the middle-aged man in the black robe and the 10 elders of the Divine Light sect gave their orders, one by one, they rode their flying beasts and left at top speed. Finally, the middle-aged man in the black robe rode his primal core beast in the southeast direction. The reason why he chose the southeast direction was that it was extremely far away from the border of another empire. He would need to cross a very long distance. It was best for him to travel this part of the journey himself. I don't even know who this middle-aged man and this young man are. They've only just entered the world, and they've already alerted the Divine Light sect. Even the sect leader has personally ordered a thorough investigation of their origins. The middle-aged man in the black robe raised his hand, and two portraits appeared out of thin air. One of the portraits was of an elegant middle-aged man, looking very lifelike. The other portrait was of a young man. The young man was handsome and had a transcendent aura, as if he had transcended the world. The two portraits depicted Zhou Donghuang and his servant. Ever since I joined the Eagle Eye, it seems like this is the first time the Eagle Eye has come out in full force like today? The middle-aged man in the black robe muttered to himself as he kept the portraits. The Eagle Eye was the intelligence department of the Divine Light sect, and it was managed and overseen by the late Primal Core Adept, the fifth elder of the Divine Light sect. The second person in charge was the middle-aged man in the black robe, who was the 10th elder of the Divine Light sect. The middle-aged man in the black robe was also the next most promising adept of the Divine Light sect to enter the late Primal Core stage. He was the number 1 mid-Primal Core adept in the Divine Light sect. Big brother, this is actually quite good, we can take the opportunity to come out and relax. The slightly immature voice of a young man came from the mouth of the giant eagle beneath the middle-aged man in the black robe. The primal core beasts had already refined their laryngeal bones and could speak. That's true. The middle-aged man in the black robe smiled faintly. However, I hope that this trip will be fruitful. I am also very curious about the background of that young man. A primal core adept who is not even 20 years old, is that possible? I still feel that this news is not very trustworthy. The giant eagle's tone was full of doubt. The news was sent back to the sect by the third elder, so it should not be false. I just don't know if that young man had some special encounter, or if he has a powerful teacher behind him. The tone of the middle-aged man in the black robe was full of curiosity. As a primal core beast, the giant eagle was extremely fast. However, because it needed to descend all the way to cooperate with the middle-aged man in the black robe in finding out the background of the target, it still took about half a month before it arrived at the southeastern border of the Xinguang Empire. Whoosh! After leaving the southeastern border of the Xinguang Empire, the giant eagle continued in the southeast direction. After 7 or 8 days, there was no sign of human habitation. Big brother, isn't this place too remote? It's practically a barren land. The giant eagle could not help but complain to the middle-aged man in the black robe as it overlooked the wilderness beneath it. Haha, this area is indeed barren. However, it is said that behind this desolate land there are quite a few people, and there is even a small sect. The middle-aged man in the black robe said with a laugh. How small is a small sect? The giant eagle asked curiously. Within the sect, the strongest person is at most an ultimate Khanate adept. The middle-aged man said. Ultimate Khanate adept? The strongest? The giant eagle's sharp eyes flashed with disdain. It is indeed quite small. In the various empires there are not many primal core adepts, and they are even too embarrassed to establish a sect, and in this small place, there is not even one primal core adept, and yet they dare to establish a sect. What a joke! The more the giant eagle spoke, the more disdainful it became. 3 days later, in the sky above a vast valley, 2 uninvited guests, 1 man and 1 eagle. If I'm not wrong, this should be that small sect. I have seen records of this small sect in our Eagle Eyes note. I think it is called Valley of the Medicine Masters? On the back of the giant eagle with a wingspan of over 20 meters, a middle-aged man in a black robe stood with his hands clasped behind his back, looking down at the vast valley below him. There are sentries at the highest points around the valley. The giant eagle's sharp eyes flashed. It was not difficult to see the rather inconspicuous lookout towers around the valley. Furthermore, there were people on the lookout towers monitoring the surroundings. Go down. As the middle-aged man in the black robe spoke, the giant eagle swooped down and landed near one of the lookout towers. On that lookout tower, the elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters looked at the man and eagle who seemed to appear out of thin air. Especially when he saw the huge size of the giant eagle, his expression changed. An ultimate connate adept demon? The giant eagle's wingspan was over 20 meters, a sign of an ultimate connate adept demon. An ultimate connate adept demon? Hearing the elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters exclaim in shock, the giant eagle was a little unhappy and said directly to the elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, "Hey, old man, I am not a little connate adept demon. If you dare speak nonsense again, I will tear you apart." As soon as he said this, a cold light flashed in the giant eagle's eyes. Speak human language? The elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, whose expression was already very ugly, heard the giant eagle's words and his eyes narrowed. He was so frightened that his legs gave way and he fell to the ground. You are a primal core demon? Although there had never been a primal core adept or a primal core demon in the Valley of the Medicine Masters. However, this did not prevent the people of the Valley of the Medicine Masters from knowing that after demons entered the primal core stage, they could refine the laryngeal bone and speak human language. Speaking human language was a sign of a primal core demon and above. At least you are knowledgeable. The look in the giant eagle's eyes softened. Whoosh! At the same time, the middle-aged man in the black robe on the back of the giant eagle flashed, his body surrounded by a milky white halo, and he flew directly into the air and slowly landed in front of the elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Primal core adept? The elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, who was sitting paralyzed on the ground, narrowed his eyes again. His shocked heart was at this moment even somewhat numb. First was a primal core demon, then a primal core adept. As far as he knew, in the history of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, there had never been anyone who had received such treatment. I am the 10th elder of the Divine Light sect, Lin Hantion. The middle-aged man in the black robe was the 10th elder of the Divine Light sect, the second in charge of the intelligence department of the Divine Light sect, Eagle Eye. As he spoke, he neatly displayed 2 portraits in front of the elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Do you recognize these 2 people? The Divine Light sect. The elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters was puzzled, because he had never heard of the Divine Light sect. However, as a primal core adept, he was the 10th elder of the Divine Light sect, and it was not difficult for him to guess that the Divine Light sect was not an existence that the Valley of the Medicine Masters could compare to. Now the other party displayed the 2 portraits in front of him, and asked if he recognized the 2 people in the portrait. He subconsciously looked over. With just one glance, his expression could not help but freeze. This was because he knew the 2 people in the portrait. One of them was the leader of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, Su-Mo. The other person, although the childish look on his face had faded, he still recognized him at a glance. It was the master that Su-Mo, the leader of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, recognized. Zhou Donghuang, a person from the country of Yunyang, one of the 16 countries of the East Valley, and a former Khanate stage youth. Sir, I wonder why are you looking for these 2 people? The elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters asked cautiously. After all, he did not know whether the other party was a friend or a foe. If they were enemies, and he exposed the identity of their valley head, it would be harming their valley head. Chapter 173. I asked you if you knew him? The face of the 10th elder of the Divine Light sect, Lin Hantion, suddenly darkened. The inner yuan of a mid-primordial soul adept swept out and pressed down on the elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, causing the early Khanate stage elder's expression to change as he spat out a mouthful of blood. At this time, the elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters also realized that the man in front of him was not friendly, and hurriedly shook his head. "I don't know him." "I'll give you another chance. Are you sure you don't know them?" Lin Hantian grinned, revealing 2 rows of yellow and white teeth as he asked again. "I don't know them." The elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters continued to shake his head. "I've given you a chance." As Lin Hantian spoke calmly, the inner yuan in his hands pressed down on the elder's head. The raging inner yuan was like a meat grinder, and in an instant, flesh and blood splattered everywhere. "Your eyes can't fool me." Just now, Lin Hantian had seen the look of surprise in the elder's eyes, and could tell that he most likely knew the person in the portrait he had taken out. He had asked him again just to be sure. "It seems that they came from this barren land. No wonder the 3rd elder said that the 17th elder, Lu Xuanyu, had sent someone to investigate and confirmed that the 2 men were not from the Xinguang Empire, and that the other 4 empires could not find anything about their origins." After killing the elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, Lin Hantian returned to the back of the giant eagle. "Since they came from here, it is normal that Lu Xuanyu could not find anything about their origins. This place is too remote." After Lin Hantian returned to the eagle's back, he steered the giant eagle into the valley. His rash actions naturally alerted the other 3 elders of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, who were on the lookout post. However, when the 3 of them saw the giant eagle with a wingspan of more than 20 meters beneath Lin Hantian's feet, their expressions changed completely. An ultimate Khanate stage demon? No, look at the pale white halo around the giant eagle. That is clearly the sign of a primal core demon. An early primal core demon? After confirming that the giant eagle in front of them was an early primal core demon, the faces of the 3 elders changed again, and their eyes were filled with horror. How could a primal core demon appear in the Valley of the Medicine Masters? Furthermore, there was a middle-aged man riding a primal core demon. Needless to say, they were certain. This middle-aged man who had appeared riding a primal core demon was most likely also a primal core adept, and it was very likely that he was even more powerful than the primal core demon beneath his feet. Just now, I asked the person over there a question. He wasn't honest, so I killed him. Lin Hantian stood on the back of the giant eagle, looking at the 3 elders of the Valley of the Medicine Masters sitting on the backs of the flying beasts, who were all agitated by the giant eagle beneath Lin Hantian's feet. The 3 elders of the Valley of the Medicine Masters looked in the direction of the lookout post that Lin Hantian had pointed to, and their expressions changed. Just now, they were still wondering why the person on duty at the lookout post did not come with them. It turned out that he had been killed by the person in front of them. "I only hope that you won't disappoint me." As Lin Hantian spoke, he raised his hand and the 2 portraits were wrapped in a milky white light and flew out to reveal themselves in the void. 2 portraits were displayed before the 3 elders of the Valley of the Medicine Masters at the same time. And this move by Lin Hantian also made the 3 of them realize a problem. The middle-aged man in the black robe before them was not only a primal core adept, but also a mid-primal core adept. The concentrated milky white inner yuan was the hallmark of a mid-primal core adept who had already condensed the primal core into a solid one. Valley Head? One of the elders of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, in a moment of surprise, saw one of the portraits, and subconsciously let out a cry of surprise. And at the same time that he let out this cry, his eyes also showed a hint of remorse. The person in front of him obviously did not come with good intentions, and looking for their Valley Head was certainly not a good thing. Valley Head? Lin Hantian's eyes lit up. That middle-aged man is your Valley Head? I really didn't expect that in a small sect like yours with such barren mountains and unruly rivers, there would be an early primal core adept. He should be the first primal core adept in the history of the Valley of the Medicine Masters? As Lin Hantian asked this question, his eyes narrowed slightly. Primal core adept? The 3 elders of the Valley of the Medicine Masters were stunned. The person in front of them said that their valley head was a primal core adept? Sir, you must be mistaken? Our valley head is not a primal core adept, but only a late connate stage adept. One of the elders of the Valley of the Medicine Masters said. Yes. Sir, there must be a resemblance between the two, you must be mistaken. Yes. The other person, we don't know. Perhaps, sir, you are mistaken, our valley head is really just a connate stage adept, and has not even reached the ultimate connate stage, so it is impossible for him to be a primal core adept. The other two elders of the Valley of the Medicine Masters also chimed in. Although they could be 100% certain that the person in the portrait was the head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Even if there was a resemblance between the two, how could the young man in the other portrait be explained? That handsome young man with an extraordinary aura was obviously the young connate stage adept of the past, and at the same time, the master of their valley head. Now, realizing that the person in front of them did not come with good intentions, the three of them tried their best to salvage the situation, and not let the person in front of them know that the middle-aged man in the portrait was their valley head. Hearing the words of the three elders of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, Lin Hantian frowned. Could it really be that there was a resemblance between the two? However, in order to confirm, Lin Hantian personally stopped a disciple of the Valley of the Medicine Masters and asked him if he knew the person in the portrait. To be on the safe side, he did not bring the three elders of the valley with him. The three elders of the Valley of the Medicine Masters were in the air, stepping on the trembling flying beasts, their eyes flashing with imperceptible anxiety. Now, they only hoped that the disciple of the Valley of the Medicine Masters would not betray them. It was a coincidence. The person that Lin Hantian stopped was not just anyone, but the disciple of the Valley of the Medicine Masters whom Zhou Donghuang had met not long after he had arrived at the Valley of the Medicine Masters and left the cave abode for the training grounds, Huang Mingfeng. At that time, Huang Mingfeng had acted as if he was very familiar with Zhou Donghuang, and had even personally brought Zhou Donghuang to the training grounds. Young man, do you recognize the two people in this portrait? Lin Hantian descended from the sky and appeared in front of Huang Mingfeng. Naturally, Huang Mingfeng's expression changed. Fly, you are a primal core adept? Tell me the truth, or I will take your life. Lin Hantian's voice was cold, giving one the feeling of falling into an icehouse, and Huang Mingfeng was so frightened that his body involuntarily stiffened. At this time, Huang Mingfeng looked at the two portraits in Lin Hantian's hands, and when he saw that one of the portraits was of Su Mo, he subconsciously made a sound of surprise. What? Do you know him? Lin Hantian raised an eyebrow and asked in a low voice. He looks somewhat familiar, but, upon closer inspection, it is not the same person. Huang Mingfeng shook his head, and at the same time, he kept cursing the person in front of him. Who asked you to scare me, so what if he is a primal core adept? Even if I know that he is the head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, so what if I don't tell you? Bite me? Come on. Bite me. It was precisely because of this thought that when Huang Mingfeng saw the young man in the other portrait, he only glanced at him briefly before he shifted his gaze away. Your head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, what is his level of practice? Lin Hantian asked coldly. Connate stage. Lin Hantian's voice was so cold that it scared Huang Mingfeng so much that his heart trembled, and without thinking, he responded to Lin Hantian's question. After responding, he could not help but feel some regret. Why did he not continue to lie to this bastard? Connate stage? Lin Hantian frowned, and then looked at the other disciple of the Valley of the Medicine Masters not far away, who had long been scared stiff by his descent from the air, and asked in a low voice, Your head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, what is his level of practice? However, the disciple of the Valley of the Medicine Masters did not realize that Lin Hantian was talking to him, and ignored him. It was not until Lin Hantian took a few steps forward and stood in front of him and questioned him that he hurriedly responded, Late connate stage. Late Khanate Stage. The head of the valley is a late Khanate Stage adept. My lord, please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. For a primal core adept, not to mention killing him, even if he wanted to destroy the entire Valley of the Medicine Masters, it would be a piece of cake. Therefore, this disciple of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, faced with the descending Lin Hantian, had long been scared out of his wits. Late Khanate Stage? Lin Hantian's face darkened slightly. Could it be that people really did look alike? However, at this time, Lin Hantian still did not give up. After subconsciously putting away the two portraits, he went to find two elders of the Valley of the Medicine Masters and threatened them with their lives to ask them what level of practice the head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters was at. Finally, Lin Hantian confirmed. The head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters was indeed only a late Khanate Stage adept. At least, a year ago, the head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters was still a late Khanate Stage adept. It seems that people really do look alike. At this time, Lin Hantian did not even bother to find the head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters himself to confirm, and directly rode the giant eagle out of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Not long after, he appeared in the sky above one of the 16 countries of the East Valley. In Lin Hantian's view, even the most talented disciple of the Divine Light sect would not be able to cross 2 stages from the late Khanate stage to the primal core stage in a short year, much less the valley head of a small sect like the Valley of the Medicine Masters in this barren land. Therefore, he felt that people did look alike. According to some of the records of our eagle eye, there are 16 small countries near the Valley of the Medicine Masters, collectively known as the 16 countries of the East Valley. This should be one of the 16 countries of the East Valley. Lin Hantian looked down and then called out to the giant eagle at his feet. Although it's unlikely that those two came from such a small place, but since we're here, let's ask around in the various countries of the 16 countries of the East Valley. Chapter 174. The Capital of the Xinguang Empire. Yuntayan. The third primal core has finally been formed, but the Buddhist essence has been completely depleted and no longer exists. In the room, Zhou Dongwang sat cross-legged on the bed. As he opened his eyes, they shone brightly. At the same time, in his dantian, there were 3 hollow primal cores formed by white fog floating there. 3 primal cores. Now, Zhou Dongwang was one step closer to the primal core stage required by the Lord of the Four Supremes. Only by forming the 4th hollow core would he be considered to have officially entered the early primal core stage required by the Lord of the Four Supremes. At that time, he would be able to control the power of the 4 primal cores. At that time, with just his inner yuan alone, he would be able to easily crush anyone of the same level. Even a mid-primal core adept would be able to crush him. After all, although a mid-primal core adept had formed a solid core, the inner yuan that the solid core gave them was only twice as strong as that of a typical early primal core adept. And the inner yuan that Zhou Donghuang's 4 hollow cores gave him was 3 times stronger than that of a typical early primal core adept. Of course, even if Zhou Donghuang had only formed 3 hollow cores, it was enough to easily crush anyone of the same level. Just based on his inner yuan alone, regardless of anything else, he was on par with a mid-primal core adept. On March 3, 1231 of the Ziyun era, the 20-year-old Zhou Donghuang successfully formed his 3rd hollow core and improved his level of practice. With my current ability, and that superior primal core spirit weapon in Ziyun, as long as there are no golden essence adepts, I will be able to dominate the world. Zhou Donghuang exuded a strong sense of confidence. These 1,000 spirit stones have only been depleted by about a third. Very quickly, Zhou Donghuang's gaze fell on the 1,000 spirit stones that had formed the energy-gathering formation. He noticed that these spirit stones were about a third dimmer than before. However, there was still about 2/3 of the spirit in each spirit stone. Without the Buddhist essence, if I continue to practice, even if these 1,000 spirit stones are completely depleted, I will not be able to form the fourth primal core. Shaking his head, Zhou Donghuang put away the 1,000 spirit stones on the bed, got off the bed, and walked out of the room. Not bad. I've entered the ultimate Khanate stage. After leaving the room, Zhou Donghuang went to the other corner of the yard to look at the golden-crowned eagle, Big Gold. He noticed that Big Gold was bigger than it had been 2 months ago. It's all thanks to the spirit stones and Xiantian pills that young master gave me. With the help of the Khanate elixir that Zhou Donghuang had refined and the spirit stones that Zhou Donghuang had given him, Big Gold's progress had far surpassed Su Mo's. No matter what, it was now practicing the demonic beast cultivation method that Zhou Donghuang had taught it. Although it was not as good as the 3 top cultivation methods of the universe, such as the 1,000-star sword technique, the fiery thunder training regimen, and the manual of unruffled sages, which were in Zhou Donghuang's memory, it was not far behind. Now, Little Gold has at most just attained the Khanate stage, or perhaps it hasn't even attained the Khanate stage yet. Zhou Donghuang shook his head and laughed. If it knew that you had already entered the ultimate Khanate stage, it would probably go mad with anger. Haha, hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, Big Gold could almost see Little Gold fuming with rage. Young master, 2 months ago you said you were going back. When are we going back? In a few days' time. Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed. In these few days, I will think of a way to get some herbs and spirit stones in the capital of the Xinguang Empire. There are so many people at home, and everyone needs spirit stones for practice. As for the herbs, Zhou Donghuang would need them to refine the elixirs. Of course, the elixirs that Zhou Donghuang could refine from the herbs that were currently available were not of much use to him, and he intended to leave them for his family. Soon, I will be leaving the Xian planet. Before I leave, I will do my best to create the best practice environment for them. This was Zhou Donghuang's plan. Of course, Zhou Donghuang was clear in his heart. This return would not be the last time he returned. Only after he had settled all his affairs on the Xian planet and had obtained the ability to dominate the entire Xian planet would he leave. Master. Only when Su Mo's voice sounded did Zhou Donghuang snap back to reality. Looking at Su Mo, he asked, "How has your progress been? You're almost at the mid-primal core stage, right?" "I'm still far from it." Su Mo was a little embarrassed. "I feel that, after entering the primal core stage, even with the help of the spirit stones and the power of the Buddhist essence that Master has given me, my practice speed is still very slow." "Then it must be because of your talent and technique." Zhou Donghuang shook his head, and with a lift of his hand, a space ring appeared in his hand out of thin air. With a flick of his finger, it flew towards Su Mo, surrounded by a faint white fog. This space ring originally belonged to the 17th elder of the Divine Light sect, Lu Xuanyu. I have refined it again, and the space inside has increased from 1 square foot to 2 square feet. Now, in this space ring, there is a technique that I have left behind. From today onwards, you will practice this technique. The primal core portion and the Dharma form portion of this technique are all recorded in the manual. After you have read it and memorized it, it is best that you destroy it. As for the primordial soul technique, I will give it to you when your level of practice is high enough. Zhou Donghuang said. The 17th elder of the Divine Light sect, Lu Xuanyu? Su Mo's eyes narrowed. Master, 1.5 months ago, when I went to the Yang family to get some medicine, I heard that Lu Xuanyu had been killed. Was it you who killed him? Zhou Donghuang nodded casually. The last time I went to the black market, on the way back, he blocked my way and tried to rob me, so I killed him casually. The corners of Su Mo's mouth twitched, and the shock in his heart increased. Although his master had said before that he did not fear Lu Xuanyu, and he believed it. However, after knowing that Lu Xuanyu had died at the hands of his master, he could not help but feel inexplicably shocked. Taking a deep breath and trying to suppress the shock in his heart, Suemo took the space ring that was floating in the air and took out the 2 pieces of paper that were filled with words to read. After a moment, Sumo's eyes became extremely bright, and his face flushed. In this world, there is actually such a wonderful technique? Heavens! Compared to this technique, the technique that I used to practice is the worst of the worst. Now, Suemo was extremely emotional. He would not have known if he had not seen it, but when he did, he was shocked. He had only glanced through a little of the technique that his young master had given him, and he had discovered all sorts of wonderful things about it, leaving all the techniques that he used to practice behind in all aspect. Although he had not started to practice this technique, he was still sure that it would be of great help to him. Master, what technique is this? Suemo looked at Zhou Donghuang excitedly. The Thousand-Star Sword Technique. Zhou Donghuang said casually. It is considered one of the best techniques in the universe, and it is a swordsmanship technique that focuses on killing. One of the best techniques in the universe? Suemo was stunned, and when he looked at Zhou Donghuang again, his gaze was different. Master, there is a question. I don't know if I should ask. Ask away. Zhou Donghuang looked at Suemo questioningly. You are not the reincarnation of an old monster, are you? Or perhaps, some mighty martial artist above the primordial soul stage has taken over your current body? Suemo asked the question that had been bothering him. Although adepts above the primordial soul stage can take over another's body, they usually have to pay a hefty price. More than 90% of them will not be able to surpass their previous level of practice, and they can only wait for death in the new body or continue to live in the body until they can no longer take over. Zhou Donghuang looked deeply at Suemo. Furthermore, after taking over another's body, the primordial soul will still be there, and with a little bit of cultivation, they will be able to attain the early primordial soul stage. There is no need to go through the process of chi gathering, primordial core, and even dharma all over again. Zhou Donghuang said. Zhou Donghuang's words had undoubtedly opened a door to a whole new world for Suemo, and Suemo was suddenly enlightened. These were things that Suemo had never come into contact with before, and were not things that he could come into contact with. However, after that, because Zhou Donghuang did not mention whether he was the reincarnation of an old monster, Suemo naturally assumed that was the case. In fact, it was more or less the same. However, in his previous life, Zhou Donghuang was not considered an old monster. Among the thousands of races in the universe, a powerful martial artist who had entered the Heavenly Man stage was only 1,000 years old, and could not be considered an old monster. This was because the lifespan of a heavenly man was 10,000 years. In front of a lifespan of 10,000 years, 1,000 years old could only be considered a youth at most. If you have nothing to do, come with me to the black market. Zhou Donghuang said to Suemo, Master, you intend to go to the black market to sell prescriptions again? Suemo asked instinctively. No. Zhou Donghuang shook his head, and a light flashed in his eyes. This time, we are going to openly meet the person in charge of the black market, the third elder of the Divine Light sect. Fair and square? Sumo's eyes narrowed. In the past, when he went to the black market, he had always been secretive. Now, his master suddenly said that he was going to openly bring him to meet the third elder of the Divine Light sect. It was tantamount to completely removing his disguise and revealing himself completely to the third elder of the Divine Light sect. More than 2 months ago, after I killed Lu Xuanyu, he most likely already knew that Lu Xuanyu's death was related to me, Zhou Donghuang said calmly. The only reason he did not do anything to me was because he was wary of me. Unless he and the Divine Light sect can thoroughly investigate my background and confirm that I am not a threat to them, otherwise, they would not dare to touch me so easily. After saying this, Zhou Donghuang seemed to have everything under control. End of chapter. Chapter 175. Black Market. Inside the spacious hall. A handsome young man dressed in robes whiter than snow sat at the head of the table. The scholarly middle-aged man stood behind him, looking very humble. Soon, a series of footsteps could be heard outside the door. Following that, 3 figures strode into the hall from outside. The leader was an old monk dressed in a silver cassock. He was the person in charge of the black market, the third elder of the Divine Light sect, Tuaku. As for the 2 people following behind him, they were a middle-aged man in casual clothes and an old monk in a red cassock. For the 2 of them to be able to appear here with Tuaku, it meant that their status in the black market, and even in the Divine Light sect, was not low. "Sir, do you think of yourself as the host?" As soon as Taku entered the door, he discovered that the youth that he had only seen in the portrait was sitting in the main seat of the hall. Taku's complexion immediately darkened. "That seat is my seat. If you want to sit, go to the next seat." Although Tuaku did not know how powerful the young man in front of him was, but the other party's actions, to a certain extent, could be considered a provocation. If he did not do anything, it would undoubtedly be embarrassing. After all, he had 2 elders of the Divine Light sect behind him. If he did not correct this matter, once word got out, where would he put his face? "This seat is not bad, it's quite comfortable, I won't move," Zhou Dongwang said casually. Zhou Dongwang said calmly, "Furthermore, I came to you today to discuss something. I'll leave as soon as I'm done. If you want to sit here, after I leave, you can sit as long as you want." Hearing Zhou Dongwang's words, Tuaku was so angry that his face turned red. "Young man." At this time, Tuaku was so angry that he could not speak. As the silver inner yuan danced around his body, the middle-aged man dressed in casual clothes behind him looked coldly at Zhou Dongwang and said in a low voice, "The third elder is giving you face by asking you to give up your seat. You don't refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit." "I have accepted a toast, but a forfeit. I, Zhou Dongwang, have not." Zhou Dongwang laughed lightly, and then his eyes narrowed. "Why don't you demonstrate? You, ever since Jing Yong had attained the mid-primal core stage and become the 15th elder of the Divine Light sect, this was the first time he had been looked down upon like this." Instantly, he flew into a rage, and a milky white light burst forth from his body, like streaks of white silk. He looked like he was about to attack Zhou Dongwang. However, at this time, Tuaku stopped him. At the same time, he retracted the silver inner yuan on his body. He looked at Zhou Dongwang with fear in his eyes and asked, "Why are you looking for me?" The unbridled manner of this young man in white reminded him of the 17th elder of the Divine Light sect, Lu Xuanyu, who had died 2 months ago. Initially, he had suspected that Lu Xuanyu had been killed by a hidden late primal core adept by the young man's side. "I have a deal with you." Zhou Dongwang got straight to the point. "What deal?" Taku frowned. "Make a deal? This guy, didn't he always trade with him in the black market? Why did they directly come over this time? Could it be that he knew that his identity had been exposed?" "I want to sell a spirit weapon to the Divine Light sect," Zhou Dongwang said calmly. Just as Zhou Dongwang finished speaking, both Taku and the 2 men behind him were shocked into a daze, unable to regain their senses for a long time. A spirit weapon? In the entire Ziyun planet, only the Divine Light sect and 1 other sect had a spirit weapon. The value of a spirit weapon in the Ziyun planet was immeasurable. If the Divine Light sect was willing to hand over that spirit weapon, the other 3 sects that did not have one would even be willing to exchange half of their spirit stone reserves with the Divine Light sect for the spirit weapon. Although the spirit stone mines in the Ziyun planet produced very little, the Divine Light sect still had a lot of spirit stone reserve. But even so, after 1,000 years, the spirit stone reserves of the 5 sects were still very large, more than 100,000. You have a spirit weapon?" Taku's eyes were filled with disbelief. 50,000 spirit stones, Zhou Dongwang said calmly. Zhou Dongwang said mildly, "If the Divine Light sect is not interested, I will find another sect." Of course, if you sell it to other sects, it will not be as simple as 50,000 spirit stones. It will be at least 60,000 spirit stones. Seeing that we have traded with the Divine Light sect twice in the past, and everything went smoothly this time, I will give the Divine Light sect a discounted price. Let's see if you are interested. As he finished speaking, Zhou Donghuang raised his hand, and an exquisite little hill appeared in it. As he infused his inner yuan into the hill, its surface glowed with a series of intricate patterns that covered the whole of the hill. Bursts of powerful auras accompanied the surging quintessential origin energy on the small mountain as they swept out. Without needing to personally test it, Taku and the other two had already determined from Zhou Donghuang's actions that this exquisite hill was indeed a spirit weapon. It really is a spirit weapon. Behind Taku, Zheng Yong's eyes were filled with greed, and the other old monk in a red cassock was also staring at Zhou Donghuang with shining eyes. If you can't take out the spirit weapon just like that, aren't you worried that we will snatch it from you? Taku's eyes were also filled with a burning desire. That depends on whether you have the ability to do so. As Zhou Donghuang spoke again, he stood up, and his eyes swept over Taku and the other two. He said calmly, "The three of you, come at me together." As soon as he finished speaking, Zhou Donghuang's figure flickered, and his entire body soared into the air. The exquisite mountain had been kept by him at some point, and in its place was a folding fan. The folding fan opened up, and the sharp ribs of the fan appeared before everyone's eyes. If the late primal core adept behind you were to attack, he might be able to exchange a few blows with me, but you, forget it. Taku said disdainfully. Because the 17th elder of the Divine Light sect, Lu Xuanyu, had been killed, Taku had always thought that there was another late primal core adept by Zhou Donghuang's side. Besides, from what the young man had just said, Taku was completely sure that the person before him already knew that his identity had been exposed, or else he would not have voluntarily brought up the matter of the two previous transactions with the Divine Light sect. Arrogant. Jing Yang's face darkened, and he took a step forward, flying forward. You are just an early primal core adept. Even if you have a spirit weapon to rely on, I alone am enough to defeat you. Today, I will teach you a lesson on behalf of your elders, and let you know that there is always someone better out there. As soon as he finished speaking, Zheng Yong had already arrived in front of Zhou Donghuang. With a loud crash, he pushed out his palm, and a vast and condensed milky white inner yuan whizzed out towards Zhou Donghuang's shoulder. It was like a white rainbow piercing through the sun, its momentum fierce. However, in the face of Zheng Yong's lightning-fast palm strike, Zhou Donghuang merely shrugged his shoulders lightly and easily dodged Zheng Yong's palm strike. He allowed the wind from Zheng Yong's palm strike to hit his body, causing his long hair to flutter. You are too weak. As Zhou Donghuang spoke, his palm struck out like lightning, and before Zheng Yong could even brush past him, his palm struck Zheng Yong's other shoulder. The violent inner yuan was incomparably sharp, and in an instant, Zheng Yong's arm was broken. Fresh blood dripped, and it was eye-catching. Humph! Zheng Yong grunted in pain, and then he fell to the ground pathetically, standing at the side of the room. When he looked at Zhou Donghuang again, his eyes were filled with fear and disbelief. He had not expected that his opponent would be able to dodge his attack. Even more so, in such a short time, his opponent had not only dodged his attack, but had even retaliated with a palm. This level of combat experience caused him to feel as if he was fighting a monster that had walked out of the Azura arena and had experienced a myriad of battles. It caused him to feel a wave of powerlessness in his heart, and he was unable to arouse any thoughts of going against it. Hiss! The old monk in the red robe behind Tuaku gasped as he watched the scene unfold before him. When he looked at the youth in white again, his gaze became even more serious, as if he was facing a formidable enemy. Zheng Yong's ability was no less than his. But he had been defeated so tragically. Although everything had happened in the blink of an eye, he could see that Zhou Donghuang had not been lucky, but had controlled everything in the palm of his hand. With a turn of his hand, he could summon clouds and rain. If it had been him, the result would have been similar. An early primal core adept, how could he have such skills? The old monk in the red robe trembled in his heart, and at the same time, he subconsciously took a step back. If he could, he really did not want to face this young man who had crippled Jing Yong's arm in one move. Lu Xuanyu, did you kill yourself? Even Ta Ku didn't know why, but at this moment, he subconsciously asked this question. In the past, because he knew that the young man before him was only an early primal core adept, he had never completely linked Lu Xuanyu's death to him, but in that moment, he could clearly feel that if the young man had not stood up for him, Zheng Yong would have been dead. You think it was someone else who killed him? Zhou Dongwang asked with a faint smile. It seems I have underestimated you. Tua Ku's expression darkened, and he said bluntly, that spirit weapon of yours, the Divine Light sect wants it, but since you have the intention of sparring with me, I will grant you your wish. At the same time, as Zheng Yong said earlier, I will teach you a lesson on behalf of your elders, and let you know that there is always someone better out there. As Tua Ku's voice fell, the silver inner yuan on his body bloomed, making him look as if he had transformed into a person wrapped in silver light. Bang! As Tua Ku's legs shook the ground, the entire floor of the room suddenly sunk in. Horrifying cracks spread out, just like a giant spider web crisscrossing together. At the same time, everyone in the black market felt the ground shake violently. What's going on? An earthquake? End of this chapter. Chapter 176. Inside the room. Now, it was not only the ground that was cracking, but even the walls had been shaken to the point where rocks and snow were flying everywhere, and the ceiling was falling continuously. You are an early primal core adept, and yet you have the ability to defeat a mid-primal core adept. No matter how skillful you are, that is your limit. Tua Ku's eyes were indifferent as he rose from the ground, his face expressionless, as if he was talking about something unimportant. The power of a late primal core adept is 10 times that of yours. 10 times the power, no matter how skillful you are, it is futile. Listening to Tua Ku's words, it was obvious that Tua Ku could tell that Zhou Dongwang had used skillful techniques to defeat Jing Yong. Is that so? Zhou Dongwang smiled as he faced Tua Ku, who had risen from the ground and was now flying through the air, his body glowing with a silver light. He threw out the fan in his hand. Whoosh! The fan flew through the air, spinning. At the same time, Zhou Dongwang followed like a shadow, landing on the fan and stepping on it to meet Tua Ku. At the same time, the white light on the fan grew stronger. A spirit weapon? At this moment, not only Tua Ku, but the other 2 elders of the Divine Light sect, Zheng Yong and the old monk in the red robe, could all tell that the fan beneath Zhou Dongwang's feet was also a spirit weapon. Immediately, their eyes revealed a look of disbelief. The fact that Zhou Dongwang had just taken out a spirit weapon was enough to shock them, but now he had taken out another one, and from the looks of it, it was stronger than the previous one. If you can withstand this blow of mine, I will give you a spirit weapon for free. Just as the silver saber light in Ta Ku's hand began to condense, ready to strike, he heard the indifferent words of the white-clothed youth who was flying towards him on his folding fan. Instantly, his heart trembled and his eyes narrowed. He could feel the young man's confidence. In the next moment, he did not dare to act rashly. He was on full alert, staring at the young man in front of him as well as the spirit weapon beneath his feet. Whoosh! 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 The sound of whistling swords rang out. It was the folding fan beneath Zhou Donghuang's feet. Every rib of the fan seemed to transform into a sharp sword, carrying with it inner yuan as it shot out. In the blink of an eye, all 18 fan ribs had flown out, and there was nothing beneath Zhou Donghuang's feet. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the 18 fan ribs that flew out floated above Tua Ku's head, forming a circle, and each fan rib seemed to form a mysterious connection. This was a type of sword formation. This is a formation? No matter what, Tuaku was still the third elder of the Divine Light sect, and the Divine Light sect also had a simple combination of formations, so he could tell at a glance that what Zhou Donghuang was using now was a type of formation. You are quite knowledgeable, Zhou Donghuang said calmly. This formation of mine is called the 10 sides 8 directions sword formation. 10 sides lie in ambush, 8 sides turn into rain. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhou Donghuang rose into the air and in the blink of an eye appeared above the sword formation above Tuaku's head. He looked down at Tuaku as if he were standing on the sword formation. Crash! Crash! Without any warning, as Taku was completely focused and vigilant, the 8 fan ribs in the sky were like 8 swords falling from the sky, bringing with them a sky full of sword light, as if they were raining down on Taku. Tuaku snorted coldly, and the silver light on his body surged even further, making him look as if he was bathed in a silver light. In the face of absolute power, any fancy tricks are futile. Buzz, buzz. At the same time, in Tuaku's hands, 2 silver inner yuan 4 feet long blades appeared. The blades were incomparably sharp and fierce. Then I'll wait and see. Zhou Donghuang laughed coldly. For a golden essence adept to say such words in front of him, it would have been fine. But a silver essence adept dared to doubt the power of the sword formation he was using? Ridiculous. You'll see soon enough. Tuaku laughed coldly, and the silver light on his body surged. As his hands danced, the 2 silver blades were like tigers blocking the way, easily blocking the sky full of swords. Clang! 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 The 8 sword-like ribs of the fan were sent flying after being blocked, but they quickly made a comeback. It's no use. Tuaku fought bravely, fearlessly, and the 8 fan ribs were evenly matched. Third elder, watch your step. Tuaku's face changed completely when he heard Jing Yong's urgent voice. He then remembered that the young man was not only relying on the 8 fan ribs, but also the other 10. He had blocked the sword rain from all directions. But he had barely blocked it. Ambushed from all directions, how could he block it? Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The 10 fan ribs silently circled around Tuaku's body like sharp swords, and Tuaku, who was tired of dealing with the sword rain from all directions, became a defenseless target in the blink of an eye. Third elder, watch out. The old monk in the red robe was the first to move, wanting to help Taku. Whoosh. At this moment, one of the fan ribs changed direction in the air, and flew directly towards him. I, Tuaji, am a mid-primal core adept. How can I not block one of the 18 fan ribs of a mere early primal core adept? Tuaji snorted coldly, and the milky white inner yuan in his hands swelled, transforming into 2 giant hands that grabbed at the incoming fan rib, intending to grab it. However, with a soft sound, Tuaji's muffled groan rang out. Blood spurted from his hands, and at the same time, there was a bloody wound on the side of his neck. Tuaji's face was bitter as he took 2 steps back. He knew that if his opponent had not been merciful, his throat would have been slit by now. Now, not only would he dare to attack again, but his opponent would also not be merciful, and he would not have the face to attack again. Whoosh! One of the fan ribs returned, and the ambush from all directions was formed once again. Even if Tuaku desperately tried to block it, he could not. At this moment, although his inner yuan was strong, it was completely useless. He could change the direction of his spear and try to kill the white-robed youth in one strike and destroy his formation, but before his attack could take shape, he would probably be turned into a hornet's nest by the fan ribs that were as sharp as swords. Flashes of sword light flashed from the fan ribs as they flew past Tuaku's hands, legs, neck and forehead, leaving clear bloody wounds. His originally neat and clean silver robe was now riddled with holes, and he looked extremely wretched. At this time, Tuaku could only smile bitterly and retract the silver inner yuan on his body. Looking up at the young man in white, he said, "I have lost, I am no match for you." After seeing his opponent's methods, Tuaku was very clear. Unless the Golden Essence adepts of the Divine Light sect acted, no one in the Divine Light sect below the Golden Essence stage could be a match for this young man in white. Under the shocked gazes of Tuaku and the others, the 18 fan ribs returned to the young man's body and once again formed a folding fan, which the young man easily caught. When the young man, dressed in robes whiter than snow and holding a folding fan in his hand, descended from the sky and returned to his seat at the head of the table, the 3 elders of the Divine Light sect, led by Tuaku, no longer dared to underestimate the young man. "Young master, I am the 3rd elder of the Divine Light sect, Tuaku. May I know your name?" Tuaku bowed respectfully as he asked. "Zhou Donghuang." Zhou Donghuang glanced at Tuaku. 50,000 spirit stones, prepare them as soon as possible. I will be away for a few days, and I will look for you when I return. As he finished speaking, Zhou Donghuang stood up and prepared to leave. Also, before leaving, Zhou Donghuang remembered something and looked at Tuaku. "You did not find some of the rare materials I asked you to look for in the black market. If the Divine Light sect has those materials, you can use them to exchange for spirit stones." As soon as he finished speaking, Zhou Donghuang led Su Mo out of the battered room. After Zhou Donghuang and Su Mo had left, Tuaku heaved a long sigh of relief, looking as if he had been relieved of a heavy burden. "3rd Elder," Xingyong asked gravely, "what do you think? Who is he? Not only does he have many spirit weapons, but he is only at the early primal core stage, and yet he has such power. It is incredible." "Early primal core stage?" Tuaku shook his head. "He is definitely not just at the early primal core stage. When he fought with me just now, the pure explosive power of his inner yuan far exceeds that of a mid-primal core adept with the help of a spirit weapon. He must have some secrets on him. Although his inner yuan is only at the early primal core stage, the amount of it is not something an early primal core adept can compare to. Even an early primal core demon cannot compare. In the battle just now, Tuaku had discovered many problems. Next, you will manage the black market on my behalf. I will personally return to the sect," Tuaku said again. Over the next few days, Zhou Donghuang brought Su Mo around the capital of the Xinguang Empire and bought a bunch of herbs. A few days later, a giant black eagle with a wingspan of more than 20 meters soared into the sky from the Yuntai Inn with Zhou Donghuang and Su Mo on its back. Very quickly, they left the capital of the Xinguang Empire and headed southeast. In the blink of an eye, another year has passed. After leaving the southeastern border of the capital of the Xinguang Empire and entering the desolate mountains and lofty ridges, Zhou Donghuang looked in the direction of the 16 countries of the East Valley. His gaze became somewhat dazed, and a look of nostalgia appeared on his face. He remembered very clearly. A year ago, the day he had left Qingshan town was the 8th of January, 1230 of the Ziyun era. And now, it was the 12th of March, 1231 of the Ziyun era. With Big Gold's current speed, we can return to Qingshan town in less than a month. Zhou Donghuang thought to himself. Of course, on the way back, Zhou Donghuang did not stay idle. He set up a energy-gathering formation on the golden-crowned eagle's back to assist him and Su Mo in their practice. Chapter 177. The 16 Countries of the East Valley. The country of Yunyang. Are you sure you know him? In the Yang family household in the Chu royal city of the western Chu Ridge, a middle-aged man dressed in a black robe sat at the head of the hall, looking at another middle-aged man standing respectfully below him. In the hands of the middle-aged man in the black robe was a portrait of a young man. "Sir, not to mention the fact that the childishness on his face has faded and he looks much more mature, even if he were to turn to ash, I would still recognize him," the middle-aged man said with absolute certainty. "His name is Zhou Donghuang, and he is from the inferior Yunfeng prefecture of the western Chu Ridge. This is no secret in the Chu royal city. Sir, if you do not believe me, you can go ask elsewhere. The middle-aged man was none other than the patriarch of the Grand Yang family, Yang Yunji. Today, a huge figure suddenly descended from the sky and landed in the Yang family household. Yang Yunji was so shocked that he hurriedly led a group of Yang family elders over to take a look. What he saw almost scared him half to death. A giant eagle with a wingspan of over 20 meters appeared in the spacious front courtyard of the Yang family's mansion. As the head of the Yang family, coupled with the fact that he had lived for a long time, Yang Yunji had a certain level of understanding towards demon beasts. A giant eagle with a wingspan of more than 20 meters, even if it was a Khanate stage demon, it was definitely not an ordinary Khanate stage demon. Because, as far as he knew, an ordinary Khanate stage demon with a wingspan of only slightly more than 10 meters. But this giant eagle, with a wingspan of more than 20 meters. What shocked him the most was the black-robed middle-aged man who had descended from the eagle's back. The black-robed middle-aged man was surrounded by a milky white halo, and he flew directly in front of him, looking down at him. Primal Core Adept. Even the most powerful Khanate stage adept could not fly in the air. Only the legendary Primal Core Adepts, who could escape gravity and travel the universe with their bodies, could fly in the air. So, at that moment, he knew that the other party was a Primal Core Adept. Although he did not know what the other party was here for, Yang Yunji still welcomed him into the Yang family's living room immediately. At the same time, he dismissed his attendants, leaving him alone to serve the other party. He did this for two reasons. Firstly, he was worried that others would inadvertently offend him, and secondly, he was worried that this Primal Core Adept had some instructions that would allow others to get ahead of him. A Primal Core Adept only had to say the word, and the Yang family would change hands, and he would not even dare to complain. To be on the safe side, he dismissed everyone. What Yang Yunji did not expect was that the Primal Core Adept in front of him was actually here for Zhou Dong Wang. In that case, come with me. The middle-aged man in black was none other than the 10th elder from the Divine Light sect, Lin Hantian. After searching the 16 countries of the East Valley for a period of time, he had come to the western ridge of the Chu King in the country of Yunyang. Then, he landed directly in the Chu royal city in the center of the western ridge of the Chu King, and coincidentally landed in the Yang family mansion, where he met the patriarch of the Yang family, Yang Yunji. "I am willing to serve my lord," Yang Yunji replied respectfully. Almost as soon as Yang Yunji responded, Lin Hantian's figure flickered, and he was already in front of Yang Yunji like a bolt of lightning. With one hand, he grabbed Yang Yunji's arm and flew him out of the living room. After Lin Hantian had flown Yang Yunji out of the living room, he continued to soar into the air, looking down at the Chu royal city below him. All the buildings in the Chu royal city were clearly visible. "Who else knows that young man? I will bring you to confirm it," Lin Hantian said calmly. "My lord, that mansion in the center of the Chu royal city is the Chu royal household, which controls the western ridge of the Chu King. I, a mere patriarch of the Yang family, have no power to bribe someone from the Chu royal household." Yang Yunji boldly opened his eyes, and the first thing he did was to point to the Chu royal household. He said to Lin Hantian, "If I cannot prove that what I said is true in the Chu royal household, my lord, you can kill me directly. If I find out that you are lying, of course you will not live." As Lin Hantian spoke again, his figure flickered, and in the blink of an eye, he had brought Yang Yunji to the sky above the Chu royal household. He then casually dropped Yang Yunji on top of a building in the Chu royal household. "Wait for me here." "Yes, my lord," Yang Yunji replied respectfully. In the blink of an eye, Lin Hantian descended into the air and hid behind some buildings, disappearing before Yang Yunji's eyes. At this time, Yang Yunji finally had time to catch his breath, and at the same time, he was frightened. This primal core adept, who is he? He has obviously come with ill intentions. That Zhou Dongwang has offended him. Thinking of this, Yang Yunji could not help but laugh. To even dare to offend an extremely powerful primal core adept, that Zhou Dongwang must be tired of living. Not long after, Lin Hantian returned. "My lord, how was it?" Yang Yunji asked. "You should know where the inferior prefecture, Yunfeng Prefecture, is located?" Lin Hantian asked calmly. I know. Yang Yunji nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. "If my lord wishes to go, I can personally lead the way." Lin Hantian nodded. "Come with me, and I will not mistreat you after this." "Thank you, my lord." Yang Yunji's eyes lit up, and at the same time, he hurriedly bowed in thanks. A reward from a primal core adept was definitely a great reward for a chi-gathering adept like him. Just thinking about it made him so excited that he could not sleep for a few days. Whoosh! Departing from the southeastern border of the Xinguang Empire, it only took half a month for the golden-crowned eagle, Big Gold, to bring Zhou Dongwang and his servant back to the vast valley where the Valley of the Medicine Masters was located. On March 20, 1231 of the Ziyun era, Zhou Dongwang and Su Mo returned to the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Valley Head. As the golden-crowned eagle, Big Gold, flew into the valley, one of the elders of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, who was on duty at the nearest lookout post, approached on his flying beast and recognized Su Mo from afar. Of course, the chi-gathering flying beast beneath him did not dare to approach Big Gold at all. In the past, flying demonic beasts at the chi-gathering stage would still dare to approach Big Gold. But now that Big Gold's cultivation had reached the ultimate Xiantian stage, flying demonic beasts at the chi-gathering stage would stop at a distance. "We've arrived?" At the same time, Su Mo was also startled by the sudden voice. "Valley Head, I'll go inform Head Elder." The elder on duty at the lookout post, after bidding farewell to Su Mo, left on his flying beast and flew off into the distance. However, it was not long before he returned. On the back of his flying beast, there was an additional person. It was the head elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, Yu Meiqin. "Valley Head, you've finally returned." Yu Meiqin looked at Su Mo and smiled bitterly. "Why? Could it be that, while I was away, something happened in the valley?" Su Mo frowned slightly, and with a shake of his body, he stepped out into the air. Under the shocked gazes of Yu Meiqin and the elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters beside him, he walked step by step through the air towards them. "Valley Head, you've really entered the primal core stage?" The elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters stared in shock. He still remembered that some time ago, a primal adept had descended upon the Valley of the Medicine Masters riding on a primal core beast, and had boasted that the Valley Head of the Medicine Masters was a primal adept. At that time, he had still been somewhat puzzled. When had the Valley Head of the Medicine Masters become a primal adept? Today, he finally understood that the primal adept of the past had not been speaking nonsense. A year after leaving the Valley of the Medicine Masters, the Valley Head of the Medicine Masters had entered the primal core stage and become a primal core adept who could fly in the air. Primal core adept? Yu Meiqin's eyes also narrowed at this moment, and her face went blank for a long time before she regained her composure. The Valley of the Medicine Masters also had a primal adept? In the history of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, a primal adept had finally appeared? From what you say, you already knew that I had entered the primal core stage? Su Mo frowned as he looked at the elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Valley Head, faced with Su Mo's question, the elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters hurriedly recounted what had happened, without hiding anything, and how they had fooled the primal adept. "You actually fooled him?" Hearing that the people of the Valley of the Medicine Masters had fooled a primal adept, Su Mo could not help but be speechless, but at the same time he was relieved. That person had obviously not come with good intentions. If he had confirmed that he was the Valley Head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, who knew what he would do to the people of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Just as Su Mo guessed that the person who had brought him and his master's portrait to the Valley of the Medicine Masters to investigate them was from the Divine Light sect, and was about to inform Zhou Donghuang. Yu Meiqin spoke first. Valley Head, there's one more thing. Not long after you left, 2 people came, claiming to be from Yunyang Country, one of the 16 countries of the East Valley. They said that they were looking for you, Valley Head. Later on, when they learned that you had left, they told me why they were looking for you. They said, they wanted to tell you that in the western ridge of the Chu King in Yunyang Country, there was a youth named Zhou Donghuang, who had obtained a treasure left behind by a primal core adept, and that you could snatch it from him. At this point, Yu Meiqin glanced at the young man in white sitting cross-legged on the back of the huge eagle behind Su Mo. She remembered clearly that the master of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, Su Mo, was named Zhou Donghuang. Someone would come to me with such a message? Su Mo's eyes narrowed and a cold light flashed. It seems that they must be the master's enemies. Where are they now? Su Mo asked. I also guessed that they were young Master Donghuang's enemies, so I ordered them to be locked up until Valley Head and young Master Donghuang return. Yu Meiqin said. I will inform the master, and then you can bring us there. I want to see who would dare to harm the master. As Su Mo spoke, his eyes flashed with a frightening cold light. Feeling the respect that Su Mo had for the young man in white on the eagle's back, Yu Meiqin's heart trembled. It seems that Valley Head being able to become a primal core adept in a short year has something to do with Zhou Donghuang. End of this chapter. Chapter 178. In the Valley of the Medicine Masters there was a special prison cell. Usually, the elders and disciples of the Valley of the Medicine Masters who made mistakes would be locked up in a cell to reflect on their mistakes, and would only be released after a certain period of time. And now, in one cell, there were 2 people who were not from the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Sure you, it will be a year soon. How long do you think the head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters will take to return? Lu Yuanshan, the patriarch of the Lu family, one of the top tycoon families in the Chu royal city of the western ridge of the Chu King in the country of Yunyang, was no longer as handsome as he had been a year ago. He sat on one side of the cell, his hair disheveled like a beggar. For nearly a year, he had to eat, drink, and defecate in a cell. He couldn't even bathe. No matter how glamorous a person was, he would become the sloppy person he used to hate the most. On the other side of the cell sat another young man with disheveled hair. He was the first young master of the Tycoon Shi family of the Chu royal city, Shi Yu, who had traveled thousands of miles from the Chu royal city to the Valley of the Medicine Masters with Lu Yuanshan. More than a year ago, Shi Yu went to find Lu Yuanshan, borrowed a flying beast from him, and then rode the flying beast with Lu Yuanshan to the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Their original intention was to inform the head of the Valley of Medicine Masters that someone in the country of Yunyang had obtained a treasure left behind by a primal core adept. Sure you wanted the Medicine King Valley to act and kill the youth that he hated to the bone. Lu Yuanshan hoped that after the Valley of the Medicine Masters obtained the primal core adept's legacy from the youth, they would reward the Lu family with something. However, what they didn't expect was, when they arrived at the Valley of the Medicine Masters, they learned from the head elder that the valley head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters had gone on a long journey. When they had told the head elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters why they had come, and asked her to pass on the message to the head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, they had not expected that the head elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters would order them to be imprisoned here. This imprisonment lasted for nearly a year. When they were imprisoned, the head elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters had told them that when the head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters returned, he would release them. I don't know. Sure you sighed. If I had known this would happen, I wouldn't have come with you. Lu Yuanshan said regretfully. There's no point in saying anything now. We'd better just wait here for the head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters to return. When he returns, we'll be free. Sure Yu's eyes lit up. Furthermore, if he can successfully obtain the primal core adept's treasure from Zhou Donghuang, he will definitely reward us handsomely. Now, my greatest wish is to leave this godforsaken place and return to Yunyang country, to the Lu family. I don't care if the head of the Valley of Medicine Masters rewards me with anything, Lu Yuanshan said. Almost as soon as LV Yuanshan finished speaking, the cell door was opened and a voice was heard. You too, our Valley Master is back. Now, I'll take you to freshen up and change your clothes before we meet our Valley Master. The head of the Valley of Medicine Masters is back. Whether it was Lu Yuanshan or Shiryu, both stood up at the same time and left the cell at lightning speed. They had been waiting for this day. The two of them were taken to freshen up by the disciples of the Valley of the Medicine Masters and changed into clean robes. They were in high spirits and no longer looked like unkempt beggars. Nephew Shiryu, what do you think the head of the Valley of Medicine Masters will reward us if we obtain the legacy of the Primal Core Adept? First-grade techniques? Could it be a first-grade swiftness technique? Lu Yuanshan could not help but ask Shiryu as he was led by the disciples to the residence of the head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Chief Lu, didn't you say that you didn't care about the reward from the head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, as long as we can leave that godforsaken place? Why are you changing your mind now? Shiryu asked mockingly. That was then and this is now. If the head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters generously rewards us, I wouldn't be able to reject him, would I? Lu Yuanshan smiled awkwardly. At the same time, Lu Yuanshan could not help but frown. But there's one thing that I still don't understand. Even if the Valley of the Medicine Masters wants us to stay and let us personally tell the head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, there's no need to lock us up in that kind of cell, right? It doesn't feel like they're treating us like guests, more like criminals. At the mention of this, Lu Yuanshan had nowhere to vent his anger. Maybe they're worried that we're lying to them, so they're afraid that we'll run away before their head returns, so they locked us up in the cell. Sure, you guessed. Otherwise, why wouldn't they just kill us directly, but lock us up instead? If they really wanted to harm us, even if they wanted to kill us, we wouldn't be able to retaliate. Lu Yuanshan nodded in agreement at Shiryu's words. Then I'll congratulate you in advance, nephew Shiryu, for avenging your father's death. Lu Yuanshan smiled at Shiryu and said, that Valley head of the Valley of Medicine Masters, once he obtains the treasure left behind by the Primal Core Adept that Zhou Donghuang obtained, he will definitely not let Zhou Donghuang live. Thank you, Chief Lu. Shiryu smiled lightly, but his eyes were filled with excitement. As the head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, Suemo lived in a secluded corner of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Here, there was only an elegant courtyard. Other than the courtyard filled with all kinds of flowers and plants, as well as some colorful, unique objects of different shapes and sizes, the courtyard was also green and lush. Now, in the only room in the courtyard, Suemo was telling the young man sitting cross-legged on the bed what had happened in the Valley of the Medicine Masters. 2 people from the Chu royal city? Looking for you to tell them that I've obtained the legacy of the Primal Core Adept? Zhou Donghuang's mouth turned up in a mocking smile, and his eyes flashed coldly. How persistent, looks like there are still people who haven't given up. In the Chu royal city there were many people who had enmity with him, and he could not guess who it was. Does Master know who it is? Suemo asked. I don't know. Zhou Donghuang shook his head, and the mocking smile on his face deepened. But didn't you send someone to bring them here? When they come, I should be able to recognize who they are. You just said there were 2 things? What else? Zhou Donghuang asked. The other thing is, some time ago, a mid-primal core adept came to the Valley of the Medicine Masters riding on a primal core demon. Sumo's expression was solemn as he said, he killed an elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. His purpose in coming to the Valley of the Medicine Masters was to find someone in his hands, there were 2 portraits of me and you, Master. Originally, one of the elders of the Valley of the Medicine Masters had already exposed me. But, because he mentioned that I was a primal core adept, a few of the elders were quick-witted enough to say that they had mistaken me for someone else. And that person, in the end, was tricked by a few of the elders and disciples of the Valley of the Medicine Masters into leaving, thinking that the person in the portrait only looked like me, and was not the same person. After all, he could not possibly believe that a late Khanate adept could become a primal core adept in the short span of a year. Sumo finished in one breath. A mid-primal core adept? A primal core demon? He has portraits of you and me? After hearing Sumo's words, Zhou Donghuang's eyes narrowed, and a cold light flashed across them. Looks like it's someone from the Valley of the Medicine Masters. The Valley of the Medicine Masters wants to investigate our background. But, although he was tricked into leaving, he might still go to the 16 countries of the East Valley to continue his investigation. If he goes to the Chu royal city of the country of Yunyang, my identity will definitely be exposed. At this point, Zhou Donghuang suddenly opened his eyes. His gaze was like a torch, as if it could burn everything. I have to go back. Although Zhou Donghuang was not worried that the person from the Divine Light sect would dare to do anything to his family after finding out his background, he was still anxious to return. After all, only by seeing his family safe and sound could he be at ease. Of course, as long as the primal core adept from the Divine Light sect was not an idiot, he would not make a move on his family before confirming that Zhou Donghuang did not have a powerful background. Master, those 2 people should be here soon. Let's wait for them to arrive, then I will accompany you back. Sumo suggested. After dealing with the 2 of them, I'll go back by myself. You stay in the Valley of the Medicine Masters and help me arrange a quiet place to stay. When I return, there should be many people coming back with me. Zhou Donghuang said to Sumo. When he had first left the country of Yunyang, the reason why he had not insisted on bringing his mother and the rest to the Valley of the Medicine Masters was because his abilities were limited at that time, and he was worried that Sumo, the head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, would do something behind his back. Now that he had sufficient abilities, and Sumo had gained his absolute trust, it was time to bring them all over. As for his mother's previous words about liking the living environment in Qingshan town, it was nothing more than an excuse to not be a burden to him. Water flowed downwards, and people sought to climb higher. If the conditions were right, how many people would not want to climb higher? Yes, Master. Sumo responded respectfully to the young man's instructions. At this moment, a loud and clear voice came from outside the door. Valley Master, I've brought the person you wanted to see. Master, I will go take a look first. Sumo bade farewell to the young man and pushed the door open, closing it behind him. Valley Head. In the courtyard, after Sumo came out, both Shi Yu and Lu Yuanshan bowed respectfully to Sumo, not even daring to breathe too loudly. I heard that you were looking for me? Sumo asked bluntly as he glanced at the 2 of them. Valley Head. Shi Yu stepped forward and said respectfully, We came all the way from the western ridge of the Chu King in the country of Yunyang to the Valley of the Medicine Masters to tell you that within the western ridge of the Chu King, someone has obtained an opportunity left behind by a primal core adept. That person is called Zhou Donghuang? Someone from the inferior prefecture of Yunfeng Prefecture? Sumo asked. Looks like Head Elder has already told you everything. Shi Yu smiled. End of this chapter. Chapter 179. Valley Head, if you help, the primal core adept's treasure that Zhou Donghuang obtained will definitely be yours. Lu Yuanshan also smiled at Sumo that Zhou Donghuang, a country bumpkin, was able to use the treasure left behind by the primal core adept to attain the Khanate stage before the age of 20. If you were to obtain the treasure left behind by the primal core adept, you would have a chance of attaining the primal core stage and becoming a primal core adept. In the history of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, there had never been a primal core adept, but Lu Yuanshan had heard of it. That's right. Sure, you smiled in agreement. Valley Head, that country bumpkin Zhou Dongwang does not deserve the treasure left behind by the primal core adept? Only you, the high and mighty head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, the leader of the 16 countries of the East Valley, deserve the treasure left behind by the primal core adept. As he said this, Sure you flattered Su Mo again, but Su Mo was so frightened that he broke out in a cold sweat. What did he mean by his master did not deserve it, and only he did? Just as Su Mo's expression darkened and he was about to explode. Creak! The door behind Su Mo opened, and a figure dressed in snow white walked out slowly. I was wondering who it was that wanted me to be unlucky. So it's you, Sure you. Zhou Dongwang looked at Sure you, his eyes calm and his face relaxed. Zhou Dongwang. Sure you stared seriously at the youth in white before him for a moment before confirming that the person before him was Zhou Dongwang. But after not seeing him for a long time, he had lost his childishness and had completely transformed from a youth to a young man. Zhou Dongwang? Hearing Sure yu's exclamation, Lu Yuanshan was stunned at first, then his expression changed and his heart filled with fear. This Zhou Dongwang, why is he here? And he came out of the Valley Head's room? At this moment, LV Yuanshan had an ominous premonition in his heart. Lu Yuanshan had never seen Zhou Dongwang, but that did not affect his understanding of Zhou Dongwang's characteristic. He wore snow-white clothes all year round, had handsome features, and had an extraordinary aura. The youth in white before him met all these requirements. Coupled with Sure yu's exclamation, he was basically 100% sure that the young man in white before him was Zhou Dongwang, the one who had obtained the treasure left behind by the primal core adept in the western ridge of the Chu King in Yunyang country. Zhou Dongwang, why are you here? Now, Sure you also vaguely realized that something was wrong, and his face instantly turned pale. Judging from the current situation, this Zhou Dongwang did not look like someone who had been held hostage by Su Mo of the Valley of Medicine Masters. Master, how do you want to deal with these two? Just as Sure yu and Lu Yuanshan were trembling in fear, their faces pale and their eyes filled with fear, Su Mo bowed and asked. When Su Mo's words were transmitted into the Sure yu duo's ears, their expressions drastically changed. Terror and despair appeared in their eyes. And Master? The head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, the leader of the 16 countries of the East Valley, actually called Zhou Dongwang Master? At this moment they thought they were dreaming. Sure yu stretched out his hand to pinch his face at the first possible moment, whereas Lu Yuanshan stretched out his hand to pinch his thigh instead. The intense pain caused them to realize an extremely shocking problem. They were not dreaming. Everything that was happening before them was real. No, impossible. This is impossible. Sure yu cried out in panic, his eyes filled with despair as he took a step back, shaking his head incessantly as if he had lost his mind. He simply could not accept the reality before him. Thump! As Sure yu lost his composure, Lu Yuanshan was already kneeling on the ground, kowtowing to Zhou Dongwang. Young Master Dongwang, I am Lu Yuanshan, chief of the Lu family of the Chu royal city. You and I have no enmity. I have no intention of harming you. I really have no intention of harming you. With your status, you will not hold it against me, you will definitely not hold it against me, right? Lu Yuanshan was scared out of his wits. The young Khanate sage, whose name shook the Chu royal city, had actually become the master of the head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, who ruled the 16 countries of the East Valley? If he had not seen it with his own eyes, even if he was beaten to death, he would not have believed it to be true. At this time, hearing Lu Yuanshan beg for mercy in front of Zhou Dongwang, Sure yu shuddered and completely recovered from his crazed state, and with a thud, he knelt before Zhou Dongwang. Moreover, Sure yu kowtowed even harder than Lu Yuanshan. Young Master Dongwang, I was wrong. I was wrong. You have a high status, and I am no different from an ant in your eyes. You are a man of great stature, so just treat me as a fart and let me go. I assure you, promise that I will never make an enemy of young Master Dong Huang again. I promise. I promise. In the face of death, Shi Yu's mind was only filled with the thought of survival. Whoosh! Glancing at the two of them, Zhou Donghuang's figure flickered, and he rose into the air, flying off into the distance, leaving only these words. You deal with it as you see fit. Yes, master. Su Mo replied respectfully. Whether it was Shi Yu or Lu Yuanshan, they were both dumbfounded when Zhou Donghuang rose into the air. Primal core adept? Flying through the air was the legendary symbol of a primal core adept. At this moment, they realized that the young Khanate stage adept had already surpassed the Khanate stage and entered the primal core stage, becoming the legendary primal core adept. No wonder even the head of the Valley of Medicine Masters acknowledged him as his master. Both of them had the same thought at the same time. How dare you harm my master? You are seeking your own death. Su Mo rose into the air and looked down at Shi Yu and Lu Yuanshan, then raised his hand and pressed it down. Instantly, a pale white light gathered to form a palm, descending from the sky. Bang! With a loud crash, Shi Yu and Lu Yuanshan did not even have a chance to react before they were crushed into a pool of blood by the huge palm descending from the sky. The ground where they had been kneeling had become a huge pit of blood, the huge pit in the shape of a palm, and it looked exceptionally glaring. Whoosh! Whoosh! With a wave of Su Mo's hand, the soil and rocks that had been splattered were immediately wrapped in a pale white light and brought back into the pit, filling it up. In the blink of an eye, everything had returned to normal, as if nothing had happened. At the same time, Su Mo seemed to sense something, and he suddenly looked up into the sky. Whoosh! On the horizon, a huge golden-crowned black eagle was flying out of the Valley of Medicine Masters, in the direction of Yunyang Country, one of the 16 countries of the East Valley. And on the back of the giant eagle, a young man dressed in clothes whiter than snow stood with his hands behind his back, like a deity. Yunyang Country, western ridge of the Chu King, Yunfeng Prefecture. Tell me, what exactly did your son Zhou Donghuang encounter that allowed him to achieve what he has today? In Qingshan Town, in the courtyard behind Yunxian Restaurant, in the messy front yard, a black-robed man stood in the air, looking down at the only girl standing in the front yard. This girl was none other than Lin Lan. Who are you? Lin Lan looked at the black-robed man standing in the air with a serious expression, her eyes full of fear. She knew that standing in the air was the mark of a legendary primal core adept. Today, this primal core adept had suddenly flown into the house on a giant eagle, not only destroying most of the buildings in the house, but also injuring everyone, including her. If not for the fact that the primal core adept had intentionally held back, she would not be standing now. Now, besides Lin Lan, everyone else, such as Yun Lu, Yang Zishi, Fu, Freezing Wind, Granny Lien, and the others, were all bleeding from the corners of their mouths, either sitting or lying on the ground, no longer having the strength to stand. The golden-crowned eagle, Xiao Jin, lay in the distance, barely breathing. At this moment, Yun Lu and the others looked at the black-robed man, their eyes full of fear and fear. The person before them had only casually waved his hand, and they had all been injured to this extent. If not for Xiao Jin, who had recently attained the Khanate stage, taking the lead and blocking most of the black-robed man's attack, they would have been crippled if not dead. Flying in the air, he is a primal core adept. Yun Lu murmured bitterly. Smack! Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the black-robed man casually lifted his hand, and a white light flashed, causing Lin Lan's head to tilt to the side. At the same time, a bright red palm print was left on Lin Lan's face. Now, I am the one asking questions, not the other way around. The black-robed man looked coldly at Lin Lan and said in a low voice, My lord. At this time, the middle-aged man standing behind the black-robed middle-aged man on the back of the giant eagle that was shrouded in faint white mist grinned and said, You threatened her that if she didn't cooperate, you would kill one person here. She definitely wouldn't dare to not cooperate. Yang Yuanji. Yang Zishi looked up at the middle-aged man on the eagle's back, her eyes cold, as she said in a low voice, "Back then, I should have let Brother Zhou kill you to avenge third uncle. Yang Zishi, you are destined to be unlucky for the rest of your life after following that unlucky bastard. Perhaps you will die today." Yang Yunji looked disdainfully at Yang Zishi and smiled brightly, looking like a scoundrel who had achieved his goal. Not a bad idea. The black-robed man smiled faintly, then reached out and grabbed at the air. Suddenly, a giant hand completely condensed from true essence appeared beside Yun Lu and grabbed her. In the blink of an eye, it carried her dozens of meters into the sky. Xiao Lu. Lin Lan's expression changed, and so did Yang Zishi, Fu, Freezing Wind, and the rest. Their eyes were filled with anger. But no matter how angry they were, they could do nothing but watch as Yun Lu was taken into the air. If the man let go, Yun Lu would definitely die from falling from such a high place. The answer was no. Being taken into the air, Yun Lu's eyes were filled with panic, but her face was unusually stubborn. She said to Lin Lan, "Mother, ignore him, Xiao Lu is not afraid." Not afraid? The black-robed man grinned, and the giant hand that was grabbing Yun Lu slowly opened. No. Seeing this, Lin Lan's expression changed. "I'll speak. I'll speak." End of this chapter. Chapter 180. Speak. The middle-aged man in the black robe was the 10th elder of the Divine Light sect, Lin Hantian. He had brought the head of the Yang family, Yang Yunji, to Yunfeng Prefecture from the Chu royal city. After arriving at Qinshan town, he had further investigated the background of the young man he was looking for. It turned out that the young man was just as Yang Yunji had said, a country bumpkin. Furthermore, through his inquiries in Qinshan town, it was not difficult to find out that the other party had been a martial invalid at the age of 16. In a short span of 4 years, a martial invalid, who did not know what kind of miraculous encounter he had encountered, had actually managed to advance to the primal core stage and become a primal core adept. It had only taken him 4 years to enter the primal core stage from the very beginning of the martial way. Such an achievement was unprecedented in the history of the planet of Ziyun, and even in the history of those large planets that were rich in resources for practice, it was also unprecedented. Would a mighty adept descend to such a remote, rural place in the planet of Ziyun to find such a successor? Lin Hantian asked himself. He felt that the possibility of this happening was very, very small, close to zero. If he was a mighty adept looking for a successor, and had unexpectedly descended upon the planet of Ziyun, he would surely have chosen a ready-made genius disciple from the 5 main sects, and would never have come to such a barren place to find a martial invalid. As such, Lin Hantian felt. The young man named Zhou Dongguang was more likely to have obtained a miraculous encounter left behind by a mighty adept on the planet of Ziyun. However, to be able to allow a martial invalid to step into the primal core stage and become a primal core adept in the short span of 4 years, such a fortuitous encounter, just what level of cultivation could it have been that had been left behind? Dharma? Primordial soul? Or perhaps divine transformation? At least, Lin Hantian felt that even if it was a legacy left behind by a Dharma adept, it would be impossible for a martial invalid to achieve such a feat in a short span of 4 years. Their Divine Light sect had once produced a Dharma adept, and he knew a little about the methods of a Dharma adept. Thus, there was only one possibility, that Zhou Dongguang had obtained a miraculous encounter left behind by a mighty adept of the primordial soul stage and above on the planet of Ziyun. Even he would be envious of such a fortuitous encounter. First, there was the cost-saving formula for the Qi-gathering elixir that increased the sensitivity to Qi by 10 times, and then there was the formula for the Qi-gathering elixir that increased the sensitivity to Qi by 20 times. Alchemist Su of the Divine Light sect, who is widely recognized as the best alchemist on the planet of Ziyun, said that even on his home planet with primordial soul adepts, there had never been such a brilliant chi-gathering elixir formula. Clearly, this elixir formula was also left behind by that mighty martial artist. That mighty martial artist was most likely an existence that surpassed the primordial soul stage. Even if he was only a primordial soul adept, he must have come from a large planet rich in resources. The more Lin Hantian thought about it, the hotter he looked at Lin Lan. Now, Lin Lan was the only one left to explain everything to him. As long as he could confirm that his guess was correct, he could use the group of people in front of him to threaten Zhou Donghuang, force him to hand over the fated opportunity, and then take it for himself. As long as he eliminated the source of the trouble afterward, even the Divine Light sect would not be able to find out. As long as he was given enough time, with the fated opportunity left behind by that mighty martial artist who was above the primordial soul stage, he would definitely be able to enter the Dharma stage and become the best martial artist on the planet of Ziyun. My son only told me that everything he has now was given to him by his sweetheart. His sweetheart is a primal core adept. Under Lin Hantian's gaze, Lin Lan said in a low voice. Sweetheart? Primal core adept. Lin Hantian frowned. What did that mean? Did Lin Lan mean that Zhou Donghuang was a man who lived off a woman, and the reason why he was where he was today was because he had found a primal core adept as his partner? Big brother Zhou's sweetheart? Hearing Lin Lan's words, Yang Zishi temporarily withdrew her anxious gaze from Yun Lu, and subconsciously looked at Lin Lan, her face slightly pale. And a primal core adept? Although this was the first time Yang Zishi had heard Lin Lan say this, it was also because of this that she felt that it was very credible. Furthermore, she was very clear about the importance of Yun Lu in Lin Lan's heart, and she did not think that Lin Lan would lie to the primal core adept before her at this time. Because of this, she felt a stabbing pain in her heart. So, Big Brother Zhou had a sweetheart? And it was a primal core adept? Humph. At this time, Yang Yunji, who was standing on the back of the giant eagle, snorted coldly and said disdainfully, Ridiculous! How could a primal core adept like your son, who is a martial invalid? Furthermore, even if the high and mighty martial adept took a liking to your martial invalid son, after toying with him for a while, he would definitely abandon him. How could he possibly give him that kind of good fortune? I really didn't expect that at this time, you, Lin Lan, would still dare to lie. Yang Yunji laughed coldly. Yang Yunji's words suddenly made Lin Hantian understand, because everything that Yang Yunji had said did indeed make sense. Especially since he himself was a primal core adept. In the eyes of a primal core adept, even a Khanate stage adept or even a chi-gathering adept were insignificant, let alone an ordinary person. Just like Lin Hantian, if he really took a fancy to a young girl who was a martial invalid, he would certainly play with her for a while, and then abandon her. It was simply impossible to spend time and effort to groom her. That was not only troublesome, but also unnecessary. As for being tempted? A primal core adept was very experienced. How could he be tempted by one person? Furthermore, that person was a martial invalid. The possibility of this was so small that it was almost non-existent. You dare to lie to me, Lin Hantian? Lin Hantian looked at Lin Lan again, his gaze extremely cold. His face seemed to be covered with a layer of frost, and his cold voice revealed his anger. I did not lie to you. Lin Lan hurriedly shook her head and said, All of this was told to me by my own son. However, Lin Hantian clearly did not believe Lin Lan's words. Since you are so stubborn, then I will first make an example out of this little girl. I only hope that after she dies, you will be able to protect the others. As soon as Lin Hantian's cold voice fell, the giant inner yuan hand that had grabbed Yun Lu high in the sky suddenly collapsed, and then Yun Lu lost her support and fell from a height of tens of meters. As Yun Lu fell from the sky, a look of panic flashed in her eyes, and then a smile bloomed on her delicate little face. As she fell, she shouted, "Mother! If there is a next life, I want to be your biological daughter, I want to be Big Brother's biological sister." As Yun-Lu's voice fell, the speed of her fall increased, and she was only 10 meters from the ground. Xiao-Lu. Lin Lan subconsciously moved, trying to catch Yun-Lu, but she was sent flying by Lin Hantian's hand. She fell awkwardly in the distance, and could only watch helplessly as Yun-Lu fell from the sky. In the face of death, Yun-Lu's face maintained a bright smile as she looked at Lin Lan from afar. Seeing this, Lin Lan naturally felt even more distressed. "Xiao-Lu, no. No! Who is it?" Just as Lin Lan, Yang Zishi, and the others were in despair, Lin Hantian's gloomy voice suddenly rang out. At the same time, they saw a huge black shadow pass low in the sky, and in the nick of time, it caught Yun-Lu and took her away. Seeing this, Lin Lan and the others all breathed a sigh of relief. "The person who will kill you." A calm voice sounded in response to Lin Hantian. At the same time, the huge black shadow that had saved Yun-Lu landed in the front yard of the dilapidated mansion, beside Lin Lan. At this time, everyone could see clearly. The person who spoke was a young man in white. The young man in white held Yun-Lu by the waist in his arms, and at his feet was a huge golden-crowned black eagle, with a wingspan of more than 20 meters. In terms of size, this black eagle was no smaller than the giant eagle that was carrying Yang Yunji in the air. "Big Brother! Your Big Brother!" The girl in the arms of the young man in white opened her eyes in panic, and her eyes suddenly lit up, and her delicate little face was full of excitement. "Dong Wang! Big Brother Zhou! Young Master!" At the same time, Lin Lan, Yang Zishi, Fu, Freezing Wind, and the others all clearly saw the young man in white. Although the young man had lost his childishness, they still recognized him at a glance. Whoosh! Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, Zhou Dongwang carried Yun-Lu and flew through the air. He slowly landed beside Lin Lan and placed Yun-Lu beside her. "Mother, Xiao-Lu, I have something to take care of first." Zhou Dongwang patted Yun-Lu's head and smiled at Lin Lan, his eyes full of tenderness. "Dongwang, be careful." Lin Lan was shocked that her adopted son had actually become a primal core adept, and at the same time, she warned him, deeply afraid that he would be careless. After all, they were both primal core adepts, and it was hard to say who was stronger. "Big Brother Zhou, he is also a primal core adept?" "Young Master, he has become a primal core adept." When Yang Zishi, Fu, Freezing Wind, and the others looked at Zhou Dongwang again, their eyes were slightly dazed. They had never imagined that in just over a year, the young man before them had already surpassed the Khanate stage and become a primal core adept. "Don't worry, Mother." Zhou Dongwang nodded at Lin Lan, and then turned and rose into the air to face Lin Hantian. "Someone from the Divine Light sect?" "That's right." Lin Hantian raised his head proudly. "I am the 10th elder of the Divine Light sect, Lin Hantian." "Zhou Dongwang, I didn't expect you to come back on your own. This is good, it saves me the trouble of going to the Xinguang Empire to find a way to drag you out." Lin Hantian looked at Zhou Dongwang, his eyes full of greed. This Zhou Dongwang, how did he become a primal core adept? At this time, Yang Yunji finally recovered from his shock, and when he looked at Zhou Dongwang again, his eyes were full of shock and disbelief. If he remembered correctly, this Zhou Dongwang, he seemed to be only 20 years old this year? A 20-year-old primal core adept? If there was anyone present who was not surprised that Zhou Dongwang had achieved the primal core stage, it was Lin Hantian, because he had long known that Zhou Dongwang was a primal core adept. End of this chapter. Chapter 181. If it had been before he had come to Qingshan town and fully understood Zhou Dongwang's background, Lin Hantian would have been wary of Zhou Dongwang. But after coming to Qingshan town and learning about Zhou Dongwang's background, he felt that, Zhou Donghuang was only a person who had been lucky enough to obtain an opportunity left behind by a mighty adept of the primordial soul stage and above. As for the murder of the 17th elder of the Divine Light sect, Lu Xuanyu, who was on duty at the black market, he felt that it was just a coincidence and could not have had anything to do with Zhou Donghuang. Lu Xuanyu was a mid-primal core adept, and although he was not as strong as he was not someone that Zhou Donghuang and the early primal core adept beside him could have killed. Is it not good to be alive? Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Zhou Donghuang glanced lazily at Lin Hantian and shook his head with a sigh. Zhou Donghuang's words shocked everyone, including Lin Hantian. After a moment, Lin Hantian was the first to recover. His eyes were filled with a cold, murderous intent, and he said in a cold voice, "Zhou Donghuang, my life and death are not in your hands." Is that so? The folding fan in Zhou Donghuang's hand shook, and in the blink of an eye, it flew out as fast as lightning. Before Lin Hantian had time to recover, the 18 fan ribs that had been separated from the folding fan had turned into 18 sharp swords, suspended above Lin Hantian's head. A spirit weapon? Sensing the aura coming from the fan ribs, Lin Hantian's face froze, and then his eyes lit up, and the greed in them grew stronger. "Zhou Donghuang, I didn't expect you to have a spirit weapon. This spirit weapon, I, Lin Hantian, want it." As soon as Lin Hantian's voice fell, it was as if he had turned into a gust of wind and soared into the air. As his hands rose and fell, a vast torrent of white true essence shot out from his body. It was as if he had turned into a giant beast, opening its bloody mouth and swallowing the 18 sword-like fan ribs that were suspended in the air. This Zhou Donghuang, a mere early primal core adept, dares to be so presumptuous in front of a mid-primal core adept. He has a death wish. Now Yang Yunji had recovered from the shock of Zhou Donghuang stepping into the primal core stage, and seeing Zhou Donghuang take the initiative to attack Lin Hantian, his face was full of sarcasm. Seeing that Lin Hantian was trying to forcibly take away his spirit weapon, Zhou Donghuang's eyes were as calm as ever, but the corners of his mouth could not help but curl up in a faint disdainful smile. "Xiao! Xiao! 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 Xiao!" Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the 18 sword-like ribs of the fan began to move, as if they had turned into a rain of swords, whistling towards Yang Yunji. When the rain of swords fell and was within reach, Lin Hantian could deeply feel the terrifying true essence contained within. Although it was only the inner yuan of an early primal core adept, the power contained within it had already surpassed all the power that his inner yuan could unleash. Impossible! In that split second, Lin Hantian's first thought was that it was impossible. It must be a smokescreen. How can the inner yuan of a mere early primal core adept be compared to mine? However, when the rain of swords fell and collided with the giant beast formed from his inner yuan, he felt the taste of his power being crushed. In fact, at this moment, he felt as if he was suffocating. The smell of death could be distinctly smelled. "No! No! I don't want to die! I don't want to die!" Between life and death, Lin Hantian's eyes widened, and he tried his best to activate the inner yuan in his body, using all the strength he could muster, in an attempt to block the rain of swords. Hua! Hua la la! However, the sky full of swords fell, and even though Lin Hantian tried his best, he was still powerless to resist. He was so anxious that his face turned red, and his eyes were so wide open that they were bleeding. No! No! Just as Lin Hantian was screaming in his heart, a milky white light rose from his body, and in that instant, a dramatic change occurred. It became silver. Ha 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 ha! Lin Hantian, who had been on the brink of death and despair, suddenly laughed heartily, almost maniacally. At the same time, the milky white inner yuan that had resisted the rain of swords was instantly replaced by silver inner yuan, and in one fell swoop, he had successfully blocked the further attack of the rain of swords. He actually broke through. The scene in front of him surprised Zhou Donghuang, and at the same time, he realized that although Lin Hantian was previously only a middle primal core adept, he was certainly infinitely close to the late primal core stage. This time, under his pressure, between life and death, Lin Hantian took advantage of this opportunity to break through and enter the late primal core stage, becoming a silver essence adept. This is a late primal core adept? Just now, Yang Yunji had thought that Lin Hantian was finished, and his eyes revealed a look of despair. If Lin Hantian was finished, he would certainly not have a good ending. After all, he had personally brought Lin Hantian to Qingshan town. Now, seeing that Lin Hantian's inner yuan had turned silver, he realized that Lin Hantian had entered the late primal core stage and had become a late primal core adept. With the Yang family's limited resources, it was naturally impossible for Yang Yunji to understand the primal core adepts through the Yang family. The reason why he now understood the primal core adepts so well was entirely because he had brought Lin Hantian to Qingshan town, and while Lin Hantian was investigating Zhou Donghuang, he had learned about the specific stages of the primal core adept. Because of this, he had previously known that Zhou Donghuang was an early primal core adept, and Lin Hantian was a middle primal core adept, and now he could see that Lin Hantian had entered the late primal core stage. Congratulations, big brother! At this time, the giant eagle at Yang Yunji's feet also spoke to congratulate Lin Hantian. The previous look of despair in his eyes had disappeared, replaced by bursts of excitement. However, Lin Lan and the others were not very clear about the division of the primal core adept. Just now, Lin Hantian had almost been killed by Zhou Donghuang, and they all looked excited. Now, Lin Hantian had broken through and blocked Zhou Donghuang's attack, and the excitement on their faces had disappeared, replaced by a somber look. Zhou Donghuang. Lin Hantian, surrounded by a silver halo, looked at Zhou Donghuang and smiled sinisterly. Thanks to you, I was able to break through the middle primal core stage in one fell swoop and enter the late primal core stage, becoming a late primal core adept. So what? Zhou Donghuang's face was calm and unruffled. Even so, it only allowed you to live a little longer. Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, Lin Hantian was stunned at first, and then his smile became even brighter. Zhou Donghuang, I have to say, your strength is indeed very strong, and very strange. With a mere early primal core adept, with the help of a fairy weapon, you can actually display an attack comparable to that of a late primal core adept. But, by now, can't you see? Your attack can't do anything to me. You've even taken out your spirit weapon. If I'm not wrong, this should be the strongest move you can display right now, right? That's also because I don't have enough inner yuan now. Otherwise, if this continues, your inner yuan will definitely be depleted sooner than mine. At that time, I can still easily kill you. As he said this, Lin Hantian's tone was full of regret. But, even so, my remaining inner yuan can still block your strongest move, and if I want to escape, I can easily do so. Lin Hantian's eyes were filled with unprecedented confidence. Today I escape, and the day I make a comeback will be the day you and the people around you die. Unless you take them with you and leave the planet of Xiun, but do you have that ability? With your current strength, how many people can you take with you and leave the planet of Xiun? As he said this, Lin Hantian's face was full of a sarcastic smile. Now, I'll leave first. When my inner yuan recovers, I'll come back for you. As soon as Lin Hantian finished speaking, he prepared to leave. His words were full of confidence, as if he would definitely be able to leave successfully. Who said that was my strongest move? Just as Lin Hantian was about to leave, Zhou Donghuang spoke. 18 fan ribs, now, you can only block 8 of them. 8 fan ribs? Looking at the rain of swords that he had blocked, Lin Hantian's face was full of disbelief. You think, by saying that, you can scare me? Frog in a well. As Zhou Donghuang shook his head, from the void beneath Lin Hantian's feet, 10 rays of light suddenly shot out. The rays of light were actually 10 clearly visible fan ribs. When 8 of the 18 fan ribs were mixed up with the rain of swords, the other 10 had already stealthily left without a sound. 10 sides 8 sides sword formation, 8 sides rain, 10 sides ambush. Since it was an ambush, how could it be so easily discovered? Not good. Lin Hantian, who had used all his strength to barely block the rain of swords from the 8 fan ribs, did not have the strength to resist the attack of 10 fan ribs. In the blink of an eye, Lin Hantian's entire body was pierced through by the 10 fan ribs. Blood sprayed into the sky, dazzling. Of the 10 wounds, none of them were fatal. If Zhou Dongwang had not done it on purpose, no one would believe it. Whoosh! Just as Lin Hantian was still clenching his teeth to resist the rain of swords from all directions, Zhou Dongwang's figure flashed, and he appeared in front of him like a ghost, and then he slammed his palm into his dantian. No, Lin Hantian, who had guessed what Zhou Dongwang was trying to do, turned pale, and his eyes widened in anger. Bang! Zhou Dongwang's palm smashed the defenseless silver elixir, and also destroyed Lin Hantian's elixir field, completely destroying Lin Hantian's practice. After destroying Lin Hantian's practice, Zhou Dongwang raised his hand, and the 18 fan ribs once again transformed into a folding fan that returned to his hand. At the same time, Lin Hantian, who had lost his practice and was seriously injured, fell 7 or 8 meters from the air. Bang! Lin Hantian's body hit the ground heavily, and after coughing up a few mouthfuls of blood, he looked up at the young man in white in the air, his eyes filled with despair and hatred. Chapter 182. However, after crippling Lin Hantian, Zhou Dongwang ignored him for the time being. Zhou Dongwang's gaze fell on the giant eagle and the middle-aged man on its back not far away. If I remember correctly, you are the patriarch of the Yang family, Yang Yunji? Zhou Dongwang glanced at the middle-aged man. Yang Yunji's expression changed completely when he saw Lin Hantian's level of practice crippled and severely injured. It was obvious that he was on the verge of death. Now, seeing Zhou Dongwang look over and take the initiative to greet him, his expression changed again. Yang Yunji did not respond to Zhou Dongwang. Instead, he kicked his legs and urged the giant eagle beneath him. Run! Run! Run quickly! Do you want to die? Just as Yang Yunji was urging the giant eagle, it finally came back to its senses. However, its eyes flashed with a look of disgust, and the white inner yuan on its back shook and sent Yang Yunji flying. Bang! Yang Yunji fell from a height of 10 meters and landed on the ground. Both his legs were broken, and he screamed in pain. Whoosh! The giant eagle itself seemed to have turned into a bolt of lightning as it flew into the distance. However, although it was fast, Zhou Dongwang was even faster. In a flash, he was in front of the giant eagle. My lord! I don't think I've offended you? The giant eagle looked at Zhou Dongwang with fear in its eyes, its huge body trembling. The human in front of it could even cripple Lin Hantian, a silver essence adept. To kill an early primal core demon like it would be a piece of cake. You want to tell me that the destruction of those buildings had nothing to do with you? Zhou Dongwang glanced at the half-destroyed mansion, and his gaze fell on the giant eagle again. The giant eagle was so frightened that it trembled and begged for mercy. My lord, I am willing to be your slave for 10 years to repay this debt. No need. Zhou Dongwang shook his head. Just as the giant eagle's sharp eyes lit up, Zhou Dongwang spoke again. I am more interested in your inner core, your beak, and those sharp claws. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhou Dongwang struck like lightning. In the instant that the giant eagle revealed a look of despair, Zhou Dongwang had already forcefully extracted the inner core of the giant eagle from its body, then slapped it to death with a palm, and dragged its corpse back to the sky above the courtyard with one hand. Bang! After throwing the carcass of the giant eagle in the front yard, Zhou Dongwang hovered in the air and looked down at Lin Hantian. The corner of his mouth turned up in a mocking smile. The 10th elder of the Divine Light sect? Zhou Dongwang, you will die a horrible death. Lin Hantian glared at him and let out an angry roar. Then, he resolutely committed suicide with his teeth clenched, and there was no sound left. Have some backbone. Zhou Dongwang raised an eyebrow and turned his gaze to Yang Yunji, whose legs had been broken. Yang Yunji, you didn't stay in the Chu royal city to be the patriarch of the Yang family, but came all the way to Qingshan town just to make fun of me? Young Master Zhou. Yang Yunji knelt on the ground with fear in his eyes and kowtowed repeatedly. You are a high and mighty primal core adept, and I am like an ant in front of you. Please be magnanimous and forgive me this time. I promise if you spare me this time, I will never dare to appear in front of you again in this life. Please. I beg you. Yang Yunji kept kowtowing and begging for mercy. Big brother Zhou. Before Zhou Donghuang could say anything, Yang Zishi, who had already recovered from some of his injuries, was just barely able to stand up. He looked at Zhou Donghuang and said, Can you let me deal with this, Yang Yunji? Zhou Donghuang looked deeply at Yang Zishi and finally nodded. Yes. Zishi. Hearing that Zhou Donghuang had agreed to Yang Zishi's request, Yang Yunji's eyes lit up, thinking that he could be saved. But what he could not have imagined was that what he had been waiting for was the sword that Yang Zishi had pulled out from the scabbard at Freezing Wind's waist. The sword was right in front of his throat, and all it would take was a gentle shake, and he would die. Zishi. I am your uncle. Don't forget, I was the one who raised you. You can't be an ingrate. You can't be an ingrate. Yang Yunji panicked. He had never imagined that his niece would treat him like this. At this point, you still have the cheek to say this? Yang Zishi's gaze was cold. Ever since I found out that you caused third uncle's death, I no longer saw you as my uncle. You want to use the fact that you raised me as an adult to talk about this? My parents saved your life many years ago. It should be more than enough to compensate for the fact that you raised me, right? Zishi. Seeing that Yang Zishi was so resolute, Yang Yunji's face was as white as a sheet. I am your uncle, you can't, no. The sword in Yang Zishi's hand trembled, and with a single stroke, he killed Yang Yunji. Big brother Zhou. After returning the sword to Freezing Wind, Yang Zishi looked at Zhou Donghuang with a guilty expression. I'm sorry. I did not think that Yang Yunji would bring a primal core adept to cause trouble for Aunt Lan. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Yang Zishi apologized profusely, until she was on the verge of tears. This has nothing to do with you. Zhou Donghuang stepped through the air and landed in front of Yang Zishi in the blink of an eye. He reached out and stroked her head, saying gently, That primal core adept is here for me. Even if Yang Yunji did not bring him here, he could have found someone else to bring him here. The result was the same. You don't have to blame yourself. Zhou Donghuang smiled. Big brother Zhou. Yang Zishi did not know where the courage came from, but she reached out and hugged Zhou Donghuang. Her body twitched, and tears streamed down her face. Zhou Donghuang's body stiffened involuntarily, and he only relaxed after a while. He gently patted Yang Zishi's back. Zishi, Big brother Zhou is not trying to comfort you. This really has nothing to do with you. Zhou Donghuang smiled bitterly and helplessly. But he did not know that Yang Zishi was like this not only because Yang Yunji had brought the primal core adept to cause trouble, but more because of what Lin Lan had said before. Yang Zishi felt as if her heart was completely broken when she found out that Big brother Zhou, whom she had been dreaming about, already had a sweetheart. In the past, when Zhou Donghuang had said that he only saw her as a sister, she had still felt that there was hope. But now, knowing that Zhou Donghuang had someone in his heart, her hopes were completely dashed. Yang Zishi cried for a long time, and finally fell asleep from exhaustion. At this time, Zhou Donghuang looked at the woman beside Yang Zishi and said softly, Auntie Mei, help Zishi back to her room to rest. Big brother. Yang Zishi had just been taken away when Yun Lu flew into Zhou Donghuang's arms, as if she had been waiting in line. Big brother, Xiao Lu missed you so much, so much. Silly girl. Zhou Donghuang touched the girl's head dotingly. Big brother is back now, isn't he? Don't worry. This time, Big brother is here to take you away. Zhou Donghuang said. Really? Yun Lu raised her head. Her big, watery eyes were shining brightly, and her little face was filled with anticipation. Of course it's true. Zhou Donghuang nodded with absolute certainty. Donghuang. At this time, Lin Lan spoke up. Actually, we are living quite well in Qingshan town. At the same time, she glared at Yun Lu imperceptibly, causing Yun Lu's eyes to darken. She quickly tried to salvage the situation and said, Brother, I'm just joking, actually. I like Qingshan town very much too, really. Mother. Zhou Donghuang smiled at Lin Lan. As for the Valley of the Medicine Masters, I have already asked Su Mo to arrange accommodation for you, and it should be almost ready by now. For the time being, you will stay in the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Of course, you will not be able to stay in the Valley of the Medicine Masters for long, because the next step will be a better place for you to stay. At this point, Zhou Donghuang paused and said, Mother, you do not have to worry about dragging me down in the future. When you are by my side, close to me, I will feel more at ease. Otherwise, if I had returned a little later, the consequences would have been unthinkable. As he spoke, Zhou Donghuang's expression became serious. Hearing this, Lin Lan suddenly remembered what had happened and broke out in a cold sweat. All right, as you wish. Leave the repairs here to the others, prepare yourselves, I will take you away tomorrow. As Zhou Donghuang spoke, he took out an elixir bottle and distributed the elixirs in the bottle to everyone. These are the healing elixirs that I made after I entered the primal core stage. They are many times more effective than the wound healing elixirs that I gave you previously. With the healing elixirs, everyone's injuries, which had already largely healed, were quickly healed. After all, these were not serious injuries. For example, Aunt May, without taking the healing elixirs, had already recovered to the point where she could help Yang Zishi down to rest. Young master? After being fed the healing elixirs by Zhou Donghuang, Little Gold quickly regained consciousness. When it saw Zhou Donghuang, its eyes were full of disbelief. I'm not dreaming, am I? Little Gold muttered. You are not dreaming. Just then, Big Gold, who had been circling in the air, swooped down and flew past Little Gold. Little Gold, you have improved quite a bit, you have actually entered the Khanate stage. You are Big Gold? Little Gold's eyes narrowed as it looked at Big Gold's wings, which were more than 20 meters wide, and swallowed hard. You have entered the Khanate stage? Haha, you have improved quite a bit, but I have improved even more. Big Gold laughed proudly. But this is nothing. Young master, you have already entered the primal core stage. Big Gold said again. Primal core? Hearing this, Little Gold looked at Zhou Donghuang in disbelief. At the same time, it remembered what had happened before it had been seriously injured. Looking around, it realized that the primal core adept and the primal core demon were both dead. This, Little Gold was dumbstruck, and could not recover for a moment. It knew how powerful the primal core adept was. With a wave of his hand, he had effortlessly sent it flying and knocked it unconscious. And now it was dead. Chapter 183. Young Master, didn't you tell me that when Big Gold attained the Khanate stage, you would let him take my place? How long has it been since you came back? Little Gold looked at Zhou Donghuang bitterly. Now, Little Gold is already at the ultimate Khanate stage, and I have only just attained the Khanate stage. That's enough. Zhou Donghuang interrupted Little Gold, and looked at the body of the primal core demon. I'll leave the body of this primal core demon for you, but its beak and claws must be left behind for me. Besides that, the inner core of this primal core demon is also for you to consume. As Zhou Donghuang spoke, A small white ball the size of a baby's fist appeared in his hand. It was completely formed from white mist and was faintly discernible. This was the inner core of the early primal core demon that the 10th elder of the Divine Light sect, Lin Hantian, had written. Although the inner core of a demon was similar to a human's primal core, after the demon died, it could be preserved for a period of time before dissipating. In this aspect, it was more similar to the Buddhist essence of a Buddhist monk. However, compared to the Buddhist essence, the inner core of a demon was more straightforward. It could be consumed directly by the demon, and the inner yuan within could be digested to increase its level of practice. Inner core. As Zhou Dongwang spoke, Little Gold's eyes lit up as he stared at the inner core in Zhou Dongwang's hand, saliva dripping from the corner of his mouth. The inner core was a priceless treasure to any demon that had yet to attain the primal core stage. Young master, if I consume this inner core, can I use the inner yuan within to attain the primal core stage and become a primal core demon? Big Gold asked Zhou Dongwang curiously as he stared at the inner core. Yes. Zhou Dongwang nodded. As soon as Zhou Dongwang spoke, Big Gold looked at Little Gold and smiled. Little Gold, why don't we make a deal? No way. Don't even think about it. Don't even dream about it. Little Gold understood what Big Gold meant and immediately interrupted him. Give me this inner core and I will be able to catch up to you in a short period of time. If I give it to you and help you become a primal core demon, how can I catch up to you? Do you think I'm stupid? Little Gold snorted. Little Gold, I think you're really stupid. Big Gold said, if I consume this inner core and enter the primal core stage and become a primal core demon, I can bring you along to hunt other primal core demons. At that time, will we lack inner cores? Big Gold's words were so persuasive that Little Gold could not help but be tempted. Without waiting for Little Gold to make a decision, Zhou Dongwang had already shot the inner core into Little Gold's mouth. Don't bite off more than you can chew, raise your current level of practice first. Yes, young master. Little Gold smiled awkwardly. Seeing this, Big Gold did not say anything else. His cultivation had been bestowed upon him by his young master, so he would naturally listen to his young master's arrangements. Early the next morning, 2 golden-crowned eagles, one large and one small, rose into the air from the courtyard behind Yunxian Restaurant and headed for the capital city of Yunfeng Prefecture. Wait for me here. I'll go ask Lu Qinghu if he wants to leave with me. Zhou Dongwang called out to the group of people on the backs of the 2 golden-crowned eagles before leaving Big Gold's back and landing in the air towards the capital city of Yunfeng Prefecture. Standing in the air and looking down at the capital city, Zhou Dongwang quickly locked onto one of the courtyards, which was where the Lu family household was located. Arriving in the air above the Lu family household, Zhou Dongwang found that there were many people gathered in the front yard of the Lu family household. There were all sorts of food and drinks on the tables, just like a buffet on earth. A gathering. The scene before him reminded Zhou Dongwang of the time when he and Yang Zishi had followed Rin Jiape to the Wei family households gathering in the Chu royal city. However, unlike that time, the main characters were from the Wei family. Today, the main character of the Lu family gathering was Lu Qinghu's son, the first young master of the Lu family, Lu Yuan. Big brother Lu Yuan, who doesn't know that the Lu family is the true emperor of Yunfeng Prefecture and that their status is above the governor's household, the Zhao family? Don't be so humble. In the front yard of the Lu family household, a young man dressed in a luxurious robe smiled and flattered Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan seemed more mature than he had been in the past. In the face of flattery, his face was calm and gentle. You can't say such things. The governor's household, the Zhao family, is the true master of Yunfeng Prefecture. Big brother Lu Yuan, you're too humble. The other young man shook his head and smiled. Now, in the capital city of Yunfeng Prefecture, who doesn't know that half a year ago your father, Elder Qinghu, stood up for your second uncle, the current chief of the Lu family, Lu Bao? The person who came looking for trouble was a level 9 adept from a tycoon family in a superior prefecture, but wasn't he seriously injured by your father and forced to return in defeat? Your father's current level of practice is probably at least petty consummation of the Qi gathering? The young man in the luxurious robe asked. I haven't asked my father about this, so I'm not sure. Lu Yuan shook his head. As he spoke, he could not hide the pride in his eyes. At this moment, in the corner of the front yard of the Lu family household, two young women stood there, their eyes fixed on Lu Yuan. Li Rue, for us collateral descendants of preeminent families, if we can get close to this young Master Lu, even if we're just concubines, we'll be considered phoenixes. One of the women said to the other, Now, the status of the Lu family in the capital city of Yunfeng Prefecture is like the sun at noon 2 months ago, for Elder Qinghu's birthday. The governor of Yunfeng Prefecture even personally brought gifts to congratulate him. If we can get close to this young Master Lu, with Elder Qinghu's reputation, even the governor's household of Yunfeng Prefecture, the Zhao family, will have to give in to us. The woman said. The other woman was a collateral descendant of the preeminent Li family of Yunfeng Prefecture, Li Rue. After the death of the chief of the Li family still had a level 4 adept, so the Li family was still a preeminent family, but it had declined significantly. In contrast to the decline of the Li family, the Lu family had been like the sun at noon in the past few years. Hong Qian, do you think that the Lu family's current situation is really due to the efforts of Zhou Donghuang a few years ago? Li Rue asked Hong Qian with a look of stubbornness and disbelief. I heard that it is, otherwise, how could the Lu family suddenly rise so quickly? In the past, the Lu family never showed such potential. It was only when Lu Qinghu and young Master Donghuang formed a relationship that the Lu family soared to the skies. At this point, Hong Qian's eyes were burning. I heard that young Master Donghuang entered the Khanate stage a year ago and became a Khanate adept. He is also the first young Khanate in the history of our country of Yunyang, and even in the history of the 16 countries of the East Valley. It's a pity that we can only look up to such a person and not be able to get close to him. The only person we can get close to is someone like young Master Lu Yuan. It's a pity that even young Master Lu Yuan is not so easy to get. As she spoke, Hong Qian sighed. Hong Qian's words made Li Rue's face darken. Zhou Donghuang, the youth that she had looked down upon, had not only entered the Khanate stage, but had also risen to such heights in the Lu family because of him? Did she regret it? Of course she did. If I had not treated him that way, even if we could not get together in the end, he would not have mistreated me and my mother. I missed such a great opportunity. Li Rue's eyes were dazed, and her heart was filled with regret. Just as Li Rue was filled with regret, a voice suddenly came from the sky. It was not loud, but it drowned out all the noise in the front yard. The voice sounded familiar to Li Rue. Lu Yuan. In the air above the front yard of the Lu family household, a handsome young man in a snow-white robe was floating in the air, looking down at the first young master of the Lu family, Lu Yuan. When the group of people, including Lu Yuan, heard the voice, they looked up and saw the young man in the white robe floating in the air like a god. Everyone's eyes narrowed. He's flying? He can fly? It's said that only primal core adepts have the ability to fly and stand in the air. He's a primal core adept? Primal core adepts are legendary. Why would they appear in a small place like Yunfeng Prefecture? Even in the 16 countries of the East Valley. Many people hurriedly came back to their senses and cried out in shock. When Lu Yuan heard the newcomer call out his name, he was shocked by the other party's ability to stand in the air. He carefully sized up the other party. Although it had been a long time since they last met, and the youthfulness on the other party's face had vanished, Lu Yuan still recognized him at first glance. Young Master Donghuang? After recognizing him, Lu Yuan asked in a daze, You've entered the primal core stage? Only primal core adepts could fly in the air. This was the iron rule. Zhou Dongwang nodded slightly and then said bluntly, I'm here to look for your father. I'll call him over now. Hearing Zhou Dongwang's words, Lu Yuan did not dare to hesitate. He hurriedly left the group of people around him and rushed into the Lu family household like a mad rabbit. For some time after Lu Yuan had left, the front yard of the Lu family household was still in a state of dead silence. After a while, people came to their senses and looked in shock at the young man in white in the air. They whispered to each other, He's that Zhou Dongwang? The young Khanate sage, who shocked the entire country of Yunyang a year ago? Lu Yuan can't be mistaken. My God! A year ago, we only received news that he had entered the Khanate stage before the age of 20. And now, a year later, he has already entered the primal core stage? He's only 20 now, right? A 20-year-old primal core adept? In the front yard of the Lu family household, everyone was stunned. Zhou Dongwang, Li Rui stood in the corner of the front yard, looking at the young man in white who was floating in the air with his eyes closed. Her expression was complicated. Chapter 184. Zhou Dongwang. Finally, Li Rui mustered up her courage and called out to Zhou Dongwang, I'm Li Rui, do you remember me? My mother is the president of Ningping Town's Qinyun Merchant Association, Li Yun. She's good friends with your mother, Lin Lan. In Li Rui's opinion, with Zhou Dongwang's current level of practice, as long as he gave her some pointers, she would benefit immensely. Li Rui knows Zhou Dongwang? Hong Qian, who was standing beside Li Rui, was a collateral descendant of the preeminent Hong family of the Yunfeng prefecture capital. Her eyes widened in disbelief. She had never imagined that this sister of hers would know the young Khanate adept of the country of Yunyang in the past, who was now a primal core adept. Instantly, her eyes lit up. If Li Rui could form a relationship with the other party, with her relationship with Li Rui, she might be able to use this opportunity to soar into the sky. Li Rui. Just as many people heard Li Rui's words and looked at her enviously, Zhou Dongwang, who was floating in the air, slowly opened his eyes and glanced at Li Rui. I remember you. You are Aunt Yun's daughter. Yes. Hearing that Zhou Dongwang remembered her, Li Rui's face lit up with excitement, and the others looked at Li Rui with jealousy. How is Aunt Yun? Zhou Dongwang asked. Good, my mother is very good. Li Rui nodded like a chick pecking at rice. Her face was flushed with excitement. Big brother Dongwang, it's rare for you to return to Yunfeng Prefecture. Why don't you stay for a few more days and let me take good care of you? Brother Dongwang. Hearing how Li Rui addressed him, Zhou Dongwang looked deeply at her, and a mocking smile appeared on his lips. Lady Li, I, Zhou Dongwang, am not worthy of such a title in your eyes. I, Zhou Dongwang, am just a martial invalid who is not worthy of you. As soon as Zhou Dongwang said this, everyone looked at Li Rui in a completely different light. It was as if he was looking at an idiot. This Li Rui despised Zhou Dongwang? Did they think that Zhou Dongwang was a martial invalid? A 20-year-old primal core adept, a martial invalid? Was Li Rui blind? Big brother Dongwang. Although she could hear the sarcasm in Zhou Dongwang's words, Li Rui still wore a smile on her face. I was young then and did not know any better. I hope that you will forgive me for what I did and not take it to heart. You're quite flexible. Zhou Dongwang smiled lightly and retracted his gaze, continuing to close his eyes and rest. At the same time, he ignored Li Rui, who had taken the initiative to speak up. This caused Hong Qian, who was beside Li Rui, to completely calm down. She could see it. Zhou Dongwang had no intention of responding to Li Rui at all. Li Rui, who had taken the initiative to speak to Zhou Dongwang a few times and had the intention of giving in, saw that Zhou Dongwang was being stubborn, and her expression gradually turned ugly. In the end, when she noticed the gazes that were filled with ridicule from the surroundings, she felt too ashamed to show her face and left dejectedly. Lu Qinghu greets the young master. Not long after Li Rui left, a tall and skinny figure appeared in the front courtyard of the Lu residence like a ghost. He bowed to the white-clothed young man who was hovering in the air. His eyes were filled with respect, but there was also a timely expression of shock. How long had it been, and the young man of the past had already entered the primal core stage and become a primal core adept. When he had heard his son Lu Yuan say this earlier, he had not dared to believe it. Only when he saw the young man floating in the air with his own eyes did he confirm that everything his son had said was true. Long time no see. Long before Lu Qinghu appeared, Zhou Donghuang had already opened his eyes. Facing Lu Qinghu's bow, he nodded and smiled slightly. I have returned this time to prepare to bring my mother and the rest out of Yunyang country. I have come to ask you, will you be leaving with us? As long as I do not burden you, I, Lu Qinghu, will go wherever you go. Lu Qinghu said without hesitation. In that case, come with me. Zhou Donghuang raised his hand, and pale white inner yuan swept out and wrapped around Lu Qinghu's body. Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, Zhou Donghuang took Lu Qinghu into the air and flew out of the Lu family mansion, disappearing before everyone's eyes. This former chief of the Lu family is really perceptive. He follows Zhou Donghuang, and Zhou Donghuang is a primal core adept. In the future, even the imperial court of Yunyang country will not dare to provoke the Lu family. The Lu family is really lucky. The Lu family is really lucky to have Lu Qinghu. The disciples of the preeminent and lesser families in the front yard of the Lu family mansion all shook their heads and sighed, their eyes filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred. When Zhou Donghuang and the others arrived at the Valley of the Medicine Masters, Su Mo, as the head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, personally came out to welcome them and bring them to the accommodations that had been arranged beforehand. This little valley was specially carved out by you? Zhou Donghuang remembered that in the vast valley where the Valley of the Medicine Masters was located, there was no such little valley with lush green grass before him. With Su Mo's current ability, he could easily carve out a valley like this with a wave of his hand and his inner yuan. However, it was easy to carve out a little valley, but a newly carved valley would definitely be unsightly. And the little valley before him was lush with lush greenery, birdsong, and fragrant flowers. It was like a paradise to decorate the little valley like this in such a short period of time. It was obvious that a lot of effort had gone into it. Master, this little valley is a gift from me to Madam and Miss. I just don't know if Madam and Miss are satisfied. Su Mo looked at Lin Lan, who was beside Zhou Donghuang, and Yun Lu, who was in Zhou Donghuang's arms, and bowed with a smile. Thank you, Valley Head. Lin Lan was somewhat flattered. After all, the elegant middle-aged man before her was the head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, the true master of the 16 countries of the East Valley. Madam, you can call me Su Mo. Lin Lan's words frightened Su Mo so much that he hurriedly knelt on the ground, his body trembling. At the same time, he carefully glanced at Zhou Donghuang, who was beside Lin Lan, as if deeply afraid that Zhou Donghuang would not be satisfied with his current performance. Now, in Su Mo's eyes, his master, Zhou Donghuang, was like a god, high above and inviolable. And Lin Lan was his master's mother. Valley. Su Mo, what are you doing? Get up, get up. Su Mo's actions caused Lin Lan's expression to change. She had never imagined that the head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, who was publicly acknowledged as the master of the 16 countries of the East Valley, would be so frightened that he would directly kneel on the ground just because of the way she addressed him. Just as Lin Lan's voice fell, a voice full of disdain came from the air not far away. Su Mo, you are really becoming more and more backward, you are actually kneeling to a woman. Long before the voice came, Zhou Donghuang had already noticed the newcomer. Besides the elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, who had been standing guard on the observation deck, and the flying demon he was riding, there was another flying demon, and on the back of this flying demon stood two people. Now, the person who had spoken was the middle-aged man standing at the back of the two people. The middle-aged man was dressed in a luxurious robe, and he had a dignified air about him. Now, as he looked at Su-mo, the corner of his mouth curled up in a mocking smile, and his eyes were full of disdain. Tan-che. Just as Lin Lan finished speaking, Su-mo, who had stood up, looked at the middle-aged man and said calmly, "What I, Su-mo, do is not up to you, Tan-che, to tell me what to do. Tan-che, why aren't you staying in the Guiyuan sect? Why are you here looking for me?" Tan-che was the head of the Guiyuan sect. The Guiyuan sect ruled over the lands of the 14 countries of the southern border and was adjacent to the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Because it was far from the Xinguang Empire, it had not been affected by the Xinguang Empire. An ultimate Khanate stage demon? Just then, on the flying demon, the eyes of the old man in gray standing in front of Tan-che suddenly lit up. His gaze immediately fell on the golden-crowned eagle, Big Gold, who was standing not far from them. Deep in his eyes, a look of greed flashed. Who would have thought that there would be such a pleasant surprise this time? "Congratulations, Lord Qi-ping." Tan-che congratulated the old man. Only then did he notice the huge black eagle with the golden crown on its head. He could not help but wonder, didn't the Valley of the Medicine Masters only have one early Khanate stage demon? Where did this ultimate Khanate stage demon come from? Just then, Su-mo's gaze fell on the old man in gray, and he frowned slightly. "You are? Su-mo, this is Lord Qi-ping of the Xianin sect." Tan-che smiled brightly. Lord Qi-ping left the Xianin sect this time precisely for the Valley of the Medicine Masters, but he mistakenly entered the Guiyuan sect and did not know the way to the Valley of the Medicine Masters, so I brought him here personally. Su-mo, I really did not expect you to be so bold, to even dare to provoke an important person from the Xianin sect. At this point, Tan-che's eyes were filled with a hint of schadenfreude. Someone from the Xianin sect? When he looked at the old man again, Su-mo's expression darkened slightly. "Sir, what business do you have with me?" Of course, although he asked this on the surface, Su-mo could faintly sense that this person had come to the Valley of the Medicine Masters to look for him because of Chen Dandan, who had been accepted as a disciple by Zhongye of the Xianin sect. "I was entrusted by Miss Dandan to come to the Valley of the Medicine Masters to exterminate the entire Valley of the Medicine Masters, as well as to kill a person named Zhou Donghuang." Qi-ping was an early primal core disciple of the Xianin sect. Normally, he liked to suck up to the Xianin sect, and even in his dreams, he wanted to establish a relationship with the two ultimate primal core elders of the Xianin sect, but he had never been able to. He wanted to start with the disciples of the two elders, but the disciples of the other party did not even bother with him. Until recently, he had established a relationship with the new female disciple of Zhongye of the Xianin sect, Chen Dandan. She had entrusted him with the task of exterminating the Valley of the Medicine Masters and killing a person. To him, this was an opportunity to earn a favor, so he had come directly. It would be easy for him to exterminate a small sect whose strongest member was only a late Khanate stage adept. As for the person named Zhou Donghuang who had the sword sphere, he was equally dismissive.